to the Turk and Raz podcast. How you doing, Turk?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. We're super excited today because we're going to talk about Goonies.
Yes, I am super excited. Do I sound excited? I don't sound excited. I am excited. Woo!
Could it be it's been a long day?
It's been a long day.
Yes. Yep. Well, so you and I were talking about what will be like our first movie, and this Goonies was at the top of the list, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it resonates with both our childhoods.
Yeah.
And we definitely take a lot from this film in our real lives, so I think it was a perfect adventure film to start off with in our childhood. So, and a big callback to the 80s.
Yeah. Well, what's so great about this movie is it felt like. Do you remember the first time you saw this or whatever? Because like you and I both watched it recently, right? So we're adults. We're quite old now.
Yeah.
So kind of watching it now, obviously, there's another perspective. And one thing I always thought about this movie is like we've watched so many movies like Star Wars, Superman, Indiana Jones, but this was like a chance to like an adventure for kids. Like it could be like us having an adventure just like this.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the days of being about the age of the Goonies and just hopping on a bike with a bunch of buddies and having this huge imagination to go do something or just to go somewhere you've never biked before, and that was an adventure in itself. Yeah,
like as a kid, anything could be like an adventure if you're going like to just like a swamp or something and trying to catch frogs or something, and like I think both of us come from like towns or places where there's abandoned buildings and stuff. So when you're young and stuff, there's always that spook element.
Yeah, well, I didn't come from a small town. I came from a bigger city, but there was plenty of stuff to find in the backwoods, whenever you could too.
Definitely, in the BC area, there probably would be lots.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, lots of rock climbing, lots of forts, building. Like we did that all the time, and so whenever we could get away without seeing a house, I mean, that was perfect with us.
Oh, it's definitely, and back in those days, like us kids, we would roam around unattended, like, and kind of like these kids, there's not a lot of supervision around them. And we never had that.
No, and being on a bicycle was like your freedom card as a child. Like when you got that first bike, the first two-wheeler, without training wheels, we'll say, you could go anywhere and you just tell your parents, I'm going to play with friends, but man, you could be like 10 kilometers away, by the end of the evening, and you come back and, your parents say, hey, how was it? And you're like, yeah, it's good. But little do they know all that crap you just did.
Oh, and the amount of mischief that like so many kids must have got up to. Like I know we got on to our fair mischief, and I'm pretty sure you did.
Oh, plenty of mischief, for sure.
Okay, so Goonies was released in 1985, and 1985 was kind of a landmark year because that's the same year that Back to the Future came out, Beverly Hills Cop, Rambo.
Good year.
First Blood Part 2.
That was a great year.
Rocky 4. Goonies. Actually, if you look at the domestic box office, Goonies made it into the top 10. So pretty cool. And there's lots of great movies like The Breakfast Club, Pale Rider, Commando, Teen Wolf. So
Teen Wolf that year too?
Yeah, Teen Wolf. So Michael J. Fox had a big year.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And of course, at the domestic box office at number 31, The Last Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone knows that, that's something I'd like to discuss one of these days.
That's a special one for sure.
Yeah. So Goonies is presented by Steven Spielberg, and he's kind of famous for a little known film. What is that? What is that little film? It's a water film. Jaws.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen Jaws?
Years ago. It's been a long time since I've seen Jaws.
And I think that was it. He fell off the face of the earth after Jaws, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who is that guy even?
Yeah. And what's so great about, like, Steven Spielberg, I think he said, I could swear I saw an interview that Goonies kind of, like, the story's kind of by him, and it kind of came out of the idea that it's like Indiana Jones for kids, because obviously he directed Indiana Jones.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool there. And what's even cooler is the director of the Goonies is by Richard Donner. And Richard Donner, actually, who just passed away this past year, he directed the original Superman in 1978 with Christopher Reeve, and most people, think of Superman, still to this day, I think they think of Christopher Reeve,
yep,
right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, you do too, right?
Yep.
Like we love Henry Cavill, but
We do.
when you talk about live action Superman, it's Christopher Reeve.
100%.
And Richard Donner also is known for Lethal Weapon movie series, Scrooge, which is a Bill Murray spoof on the Christmas Carol, and a movie I really liked with Mel Gibson and I believe Julia Roberts was Conspiracy Theory.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. And he did Maverick. I like Maverick with James Gardner and Jodie Foster.
I think I missed out on Maverick.
Yeah, I liked it,
Shit.
but maybe if I watched it today, I might not like it, okay? So, and this is going to be your favorite part here. The executive producers, obviously, Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, and he helped, he produced Indiana Jones, probably Jurassic Park, all kinds of movies, and your favorite person in the world, Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, I love her. Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably talk more about her later.
Later. Yeah.
So the story is by Steven Spielberg, and interestingly, the screenplay is by another famous director, Christopher Columbus, who is famous for Home Alone, Harry Potter 1 and 2.
Nice.
And did he do Mrs. Doubtfire?
Good question, man.
Well, I think he did, okay? And one of my favorites is Adventure in Babysitting.
Oh, great one.
Yeah.
Great one.
So, rounding out the cast, this is a movie, is a powerhouse of child actors and stuff. And I think, when we think of this movie, and even as kids, all these actors, to me, were very iconic in a way. Like, I've always recognized them in other stuff due to the Goonies.
Yep.
So the main person in the movie is Sean Astin. He plays Mikey, asthmatic individual who mispronounced words throughout the whole movie, which is kind of a funny gag.
I like it. It's funny.
Yeah. And the best part is that his mom does the same thing, so it's like it's pretty cool. That's to me, that's good writing.
That's very good writing. Yeah.
And rounding out the older brother. Brand is played by Josh Brolin, and he's kind of like, he's a high school athlete, but he's kind of a loser, isn't he?
Yeah, because he's not, you can
bullied.
tell later, he's not really with the jocks, right? Because the jocks are driving the car, and obviously they're in a way bullying him a little bit by making him crash that little bicycle. We'll get to that, but it didn't seem like they were friends at all.
No, he kind of seemed like, well, you don't know who his crew is or his clique is.
You don't, actually. It's very mysterious. They never really touch on his crew.
Yeah. And one thing about the Goonies is they're basically kind of misfits anyways. People, neighbors and stuff. Because you can tell right away, these people, these kids, they probably don't fit in the norm at the school. They probably were the outcasts.
Well, one might say they've been Goonies for a while prior to this film because, for them to all know the word Goonies, they just know that they're part of a clique, right? So being the outcasts of the other kids maybe in school, maybe a few years ago, they had developed this friendship and said, hey, let's call our adventure-seeking group Goonies or something. Because it didn't just happen that day.
No.
So they were Goonies for a while.
They must have been, and right away, as you see in the movie, for sure, Mikey and Data, they're neighbors. I never really picked up on it when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's the details that we miss when we first watch it. Yeah.
And we'll get to that. So, also starring Jeff Cohen, who plays the lovable chunk, Lawrence Cohen. Kind of uses last.
Fun fact: out of all the actors now in present day and actresses, Chunk actually happens to be the better looking one today.
Yeah, he's
really in great shape.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he almost is like the most successful. He's like I think he's an acting lawyer. Like he works in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's in law. Like
Yeah.
he basically he didn't do too much movies or film or TV.
No, he's aged really well. He looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. And
I'm
stuff.
happy for him.
Yeah, no,
It's
he's
great.
actually the best.
The chubby kid turns out to be like the hunk, eh?
and as you see why, because his character is the gluttonous, clumsy, annoying, and he's also a compulsive liar.
Yes.
I love his stories.
Yeah.
And then also we have Corey Feldman. So he's representing one of the two Coreys.
Yep.
And he plays Mouth. He's a very cheeky tongue, but he can speak Spanish, so you know, and he uses it to full effect.
He's mischievous. He's very mischievous.
Very mischievous. Yeah. Very, very. And then this is probably when I was a kid, the most well-known individual was, I think his name is Jonathan. Now, I'm going to be butchering their names, their real names and stuff. So Jonathan, I think it's Kuen, who plays Data.
Right.
Richard Wong, and he's the gadget guy of the group. So I would say he might be probably the smartest out of the bunch. And
the inventive one. Yeah.
And he is a James Bond fan, and he kind of bases a lot of his gadgets after James Bond and stuff.
Right. That makes sense.
And a little bit of trivia. The irony is that he played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice pull.
And the great thing about that is when you think about it, Steven Spielberg was always pegged back in the day, and I think talked about that he wanted to do a James Bond. And there was like a conversation I think him and George Lucas had, because to go further on this, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, anytime one of them released a film, they would go on, they would go on vacation together. And I think they were talking about movies and stuff, and he was talking about doing a James Bond film, and George Lucas is like, I think I got something better for you. And he's like, what is it? It's archaeologist that goes on all these adventures and stuff. So basically, Indiana Jones in a lot of ways kind of like he's a James Bond type.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a piece of shit in a way. Like like a lot of the fun is that things happen and it's out of his control. He's kind of he's not as cool and suave or as good as James Bond, but he's still good,
Yeah.
And so he played Short Round in that, and so I thought that it was kind of a neat connection that the character in Goonies is a huge time James Bond fan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, and then so rounding out the love interest to the Walsh brothers is Cary Green, who plays Andy. Andrea, she's a cheerleader, and she's the love interest. And like I said, we're not sure who she's really love interest of.
Yeah, it's a couple of it's a couple of guys for sure.
So, and then also Martha Plimpton. And again, I might
She plays Steph, right?
She plays Steph.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, she's basically Andy's friend. And almost like her and Mouth are like rivals kind of in the movie.
It was an interesting dynamic between them two all film long. I think we'll get into it later. I have a couple of insights, but it was interesting to see them two together. And I was like, hey, where's this coming from? But hopefully we can figure it out.
Yes. And rounding out the villains, the matriarch of the Fratellis is Anne Ramsey. Owen!
The Fratellis. Yeah. The worst crime syndicate in the world.
Oh, man. Yeah, they're just awesome. And, like, there's with her, Mama Fratelli, she's kind of similar to a lady I kind of work around. For example, the Whiskey Twins.
yes, I got you.
Anyways, none of you, if you're listening, probably will know what we're talking about. But Turk and I, we know. So leading out her dynamic dual sons is Robert Davy or DV or whatever. He plays Jake Fratelli, and he's in a couple James Bond films. And
the guy with the glasses.
He's got no, not the guy.
Oh, the bigger guy.
The potty complexion.
Okay.
Probably the true Italian.
Okay, yeah.
But the guy with the hair weave is Joe. What is his name? Joe Pontalino.
Yeah. He played the captain in Bad Boys.
Yeah.
He's been in a million films too. He's a great actor.
I enjoy him.
Yeah.
He's like the captain cannot get the ball in the basket for the life of him.
Yeah. No, I like him. I see him all the time in films. He's just a great actor. Yeah.
Great actor. He's in The Matrix.
Yes. What was his name in The Matrix? Do you? No, I forget.
I don't know.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. And also a film that I really like, and I don't know if Turk has seen it, but I'm gonna
Cypher. Sorry,
Cypher.
Just popped in my head.
Yeah. And another movie's Christopher Nolan's first movie, Memento. I don't know if it's his first movie, but his first major movie about the guy with the retrograde amnesia, and he plays a character who's really good. Okay. So that's rounding out our crew. Oh, let's not forget Sloth.
Did you get Rosalita?
No, I didn't. By then, I kind of she's the token Spanish person of the town. We'll get into that. Yeah. The actress. I've seen the actress in a lot of other movies and stuff.
Okay.
So, but I didn't get her name.
More like background actor.
Yeah, she's a major character, but she's not.
In a way, she kind of is.
She is. Okay, so we're gonna go. So in the movie, the start of the movie, I love the titles, because the titles right away is kind of like right off the bat you see kind of the logo. You get the Warner Brothers, and then you get Skull and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones Goonies.
Yeah, and it fades in and it fades out, and then you hear like a cell block going. I just love that.
Yeah, it's a great opening.
Oh, a little piece of trivia is Christopher Columbus, when he was like a kid, I think I don't know if it was a town, it was Ohio or something, he got the idea for Goonies from an abandoned, I think, coal mine or something. So, so that he would go to that. So that's kind of went and biked there and stuff. And I think that's what kind of based the story.
Okay.
So I just love right away, the beginning of the movie. It starts off in the cell.
The jailbreak?
The jailbreak, yeah. And the events of this town takes in Astoria, Port City, and Oregon.
Yeah, so you can tell it's Oregon right away, especially when you see the coast and the mountains. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So this guy, he dupes the guard, calling them for head count, and dupes him that he looks like he committed suicide.
Yeah.
And then typical 80s guard police picks up the paper, reading it out loud, gets fooled.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what did he use? He used a pipe from the sink?
Yeah, I think it was actually. It was, use it to hook himself on the bars to keep him up.
Well, quite inventive for, as you see, the Fratellis. There's not a lot.
I'll say that was probably the most genius thing that they did.
Probably.
Getting him out of jail.
Yeah, they have some moments. So I love at this county jail that he's escaping, and in the front, the other brother is pouring gasoline, and Mama's waiting. There is nobody by. Nobody witnesses that these two people are pouring gas.
That's right.
There's no one going in and out of this. The door's wide open. Love it. And then they light the match, and it explodes. And I just right before that, the older Fratelli comes, and the door is jammed and stuff, so he has to go through the sunroof and stuff. But then the other brother, he gets the door and then shoots and ignites the fire.
Yes.
Of course, the cops are duped.
And of course, they have to stand there and they can't jump over the fire or the run or whatever. They're just, it's funny. Yeah.
And what ensues is a car chase that basically, it's the introduction to the movie. This is where we get introduced to all the key players.
Yeah.
So we get Andy, Mouth, Data, Chunk,
Rosalita.
And kind of interesting, there's a couple interesting details here. I love that. Did you notice, Turk, that Mama Fratelli, while she's driving, she's eating a sandwich? The gunfire's going off.
Did not.
High
No,
speed. Yeah,
forgot about
she's
that.
nonchalantly eating a sandwich. I love it. It was
Awesome.
while being chased, so you can tell this is not her first rodeo.
No, it's not her first rodeo. She looked pretty old too.
Yeah, and the best part is like all this is happening. We get introduced to like the main players, and all of them are like unaware of what's going around them, except Rosalita.
Yes.
And Chunk.
Yeah, Rosalita's standing in the middle of the street. She's got a bag full of groceries in her hand because she obviously picks them up, right?
Yeah.
For the family. And she's like right in the middle of the crosswalk, and that's when they go screaming by her. So then she gets turned around by the speed of the car, and then she's dropping groceries all over the place. And so she sees the car chase. And then where's Chunk? Chunk?
Chunk's at the arcade.
Yeah.
And he witnesses, and he's like,
Well, what's he got in his hand, though?
He's got a pizza, and it looks like he's got a milkshake. And he goes up, he rubs up against the window, and what happens is he smushes the pizza into the window, and he spills all over him.
The milkshake just all over the window and all over himself.
In typical 80s, oh shit!
Yeah.
I just love that. And I kind of love that this is one of my favorite in movies montage. Because the introduction to each character kind of really sets up the character, like Data, he's doing his gadgets and they backfire. So right off the bat, you're like, this is the tech guy, but he's not quite that technical.
He's a failed inventor,
Yeah, and then Mouth, he's doing plumbing with his dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he's kind of grown up quick.
Yeah, and he's cheerleading and stuff.
Right.
But I don't get Steph. She looks like she's bobbing for lobster or crab.
I was kind of confused what she was doing there. Was she working?
I don't know if it's a job, but then she talked about later on that she's a babysitter.
Did she not go to school?
Well, that's why I'm like, what is this?
It's very weird, because then how did her and Mouth know each other so well?
Well, I'm assuming the town's small and all this, but that's the thing is, what's the connection? Like, you're not really sure that Steph and Andy and Brand all were hanging. You know that Brandon, obviously Andy, but Andy is like, you would assume she's a popular girl at the school because she's a cheerleader, and she's hanging with that Troy, like the jock of the movie.
Yes, who happens to be the son of the real estate developers.
Yeah. So after I love how the chase goes on, and Mama Fratelli, okay, trust me, boys, goes to that rally on the beach, and that's how she
the 4x4 rally on the beach.
And so they get away scot. Like, the cops are duped. Like, the cops are really like idiotic in these types of shows. Like, they're done. Like, they were done when they lit the fire, but still.
Yes.
And then they drive nonchalant, and it takes us to the Welsh brothers, both Brand and Mikey.
Well, let's first say that when they do the race on the beach with all those high-performance 4x4s and they're driving this piece of shit Jeep Cherokee...
Yeah.
Come on. They destroyed the race. Like, they beat everybody. They won the race.
Yeah.
While getting chased by the cops.
And they had a late start to this race.
Yes. Like, come on. you like hundreds of people spending $1,000 on these 4x4s to race, and then no. Just thank you very much.
And then it just seemed like the cops just stopped chasing them once they got to the beach. I don't know if she gave them the slip by then. But...
Well, those cars in sand ain't going far, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So we get introduced to Mike and Brand, and I love how, like, we're witnessing all these events and stuff, and Mike says there's nothing exciting ever happens, and there just happened to be this big car chase. And to me, that's like setting up that, he says, this mundane town, nothing happens, but little do we know, something big is going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah. And here we kind of get really set up with these two brothers, and you can tell right off the bat this is a real close relationship. Like,
It is. The way Brad talks to Mikey. Yeah. You can tell they've talked before about serious issues and stuff. Because they really do have a great connection between brothers. And that's pretty rare, especially with the age gap there was.
Yeah.
You always feel like, of course, Brand, obviously, he could push his brother around and bully him a little bit. But, that's normal brotherhood, I think.
Yeah, you can really tell.
Yeah.
And I love this house and stuff because, like, looking at this house, you can tell right off the bat it's filled with obviously 80s nostalgia, paraphernalia. There's Michael Jackson and stuff.
Product
There's
placement.
all kinds of product, and also you get a real sense of, because what the movie is that they're looking for a pirate ship in gold. You see all around the house, and it tells you that, the dad, what he does is he's a curator, because there's all kinds of like
such a brief scene too. You almost forget about the dad for most of the movie.
Yeah, you only see him like the mom.
Just that little split second of him, like you said, at work, right?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Like, and you get that Mikey, he's asthmatic and stuff, and he can't talk, so he's special needs. No,
I love that. I love that about him. It was funny,
and I just love the '80s workout, like the gear that Brand has.
Oh, I've seen that a million times as a kid. Yeah.
I've never wore that type of attire.
No, me neither.
It's like you're wearing jogging pants and then you put like those shorts over. Like
that's how it was back in the day. Guys, for some reason, put shorts on top of pants. I don't get it.
You figured it'd be so constricted.
Yeah.
Like I get like kind of the pressure stuff they wear now, like the aerodynamic, but these it does it. And I was like, he's working out. And in typical 80s, when he's done working out, first thing most people today would have a protein shake. He drinks a Pepsi.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
During workout.
Yeah. And so they're pretty bummed. You can tell that they're kind of bummed about it's their last weekend in Astoria.
Yes.
So, like, you don't really get a huge backstory what led to like why they all, because it seems like the whole town or whatever, all these people are going. You have to move.
I think that's a story that wouldn't have served well in the movie anyways. They're just setting us up like, hey, this is what's happening. They're being forced out of their area because they're going to put a big golf course there. So that's all we need to know for now.
And then at this time we get Melf comes in. And I love how he's. You get right off the sense that he's a yappy guy, because as soon as he comes in there, he's got a comb. He's carrying a comb. And back then in the '80s, there was always some douchebag carrying a pocket comb, combing his hair. Melf right there. As soon as he comes in the door, he starts going off on Brand because he failed his license, because Brand didn't pass his driver's, and he's all out.
A lot of kids did at that age.
It's just awesome that he just keeps going at him and reminds him this whole scene.
Do you know what shirt Mouth was wearing underneath the jean jacket?
No. Purple Rain.
Purple Rain.
Which is probably 1985, right?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I love this shirt. As soon as he walked in, I noticed his Purple Rain shirt.
Yeah. So, he's kind of a loudmouth, and then Chunk comes. And of course, typical Chunk, he cannot get past the front gate because, in typical Goonies fashion, they have the whole thing rigged.
Yeah.
So you can't just walk in the yard.
No, you got to go through this, falling of dominoes to say all these things that, what do they call those? Like, what do they call those? Mouse traps kind of thing, where one thing leads to another, like, chicken lays an egg and, air balloon gets popped. Shit like that. It takes about a minute for the gate to actually open, but what do they make Chunk do before the gate is to be opened?
The truffle shuffle.
The good old truffle shuffle.
So he stands on a stump and pulls up his shirt and jiggles his belly. His belly.
Yeah. Who's getting the last laugh now?
It's typical. These are all misfits. Yeah. But of course, Chunk, out of the group,
is the worst.
He's the worst one.
Yeah. Someone's got to be the worst.
Someone's got to be.
That's right.
Yeah, the punching bag.
That's right.
It's Chunk. Well, apparently the actor was so self-conscious of that scene that he requested just like Richard Donner and a few people to be present when they filmed it. Yeah,
I get it.
It's just, as a kid that,
I get it.
You can imagine he probably, real life, up to that point where that he was probably made fun of. And his whole character, all he does is want to eat. The pure gluttony. You figure this is the type of person that would end up with a sticky end like that fellow in the movie Seven, the gluttonous guy.
Right.
That would be Chunk.
Right.
Be Chunk.
It pays off, though. I mean, the 80s were a different time, and all in all, he's actually one of my favorite characters in the film.
Yeah.
So that's not just for that reason, but for other reasons as well. But I think just whatever he does really pays off on film.
Yeah, you know what I really noticed, like going back and watching some of these old movies, that there's characters that are very annoying, but they're lovable. And I noticed, like with like certain characters today, they'll have a character that's overbearing or whatever, but they're not lovable, and they almost don't have the most redeeming quality. Where Chunk, like you could tell, like he'd do anything for his friends, and and you know that they love him and stuff. So
yeah.
And then, well, after Chunk, we get introduced to Data, and typical Data fashion, he can't just use the door. He can't, he's beyond even trying to go through that stuff. He's like, I'm going to slide on, what is that, the clothes hanger line, or is that a power line?
I'm going to say clothes hanger line. Everyone had clothes hanger lines.
Yeah, clothes hanger line. And so and this is where I never picked up when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, Data and Mikey are neighbors.
Right.
Yeah. And so right in there, comes right through, and, crap ensues.
Then shortly after that, we get, I believe, Mom and Rosalita come in.
Yes.
But before that, there's an accident while they're playing with the ball in the house.
Oh, this is awesome. So, of course, you have almost all the Goonies together. Well, basically the Goonies together. And Chunk comes in, because Chunk is clumsy and whatever, and he's kind of a bigger guy. And he knocked over a statuette. And, of course, as kids, I know this really well. Usually that stuff, when you knock things down, usually it breaks.
Yeah.
And what did they break?
The peen.
The peen. Which I love the line where Mikey goes, "That's my mom's favorite piece."
Yes.
And then Malf, of course, is, "Well, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't."
That was great, yeah.
So,
And they glue it back on.
Yes.
But they glue it on upside down.
And, of course, while they're trying to do this, Rosalita and Mom come home. Did you notice? Did they not use the same entrance way that Mouth and Chunk did? So, does Mama Welsh, is she part of like the gag?
I don't know. I didn't really pick up on if like they used the same door Data did, right? Because
Data didn't use a door. He came through the window.
No, did they not open the door before he busted through?
Yeah, but that was the upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, but Mouth and Chunk, they all look like they came through the front gate, and it looked like the other two came there, but they didn't have to bypass that. So I was always wondering. Well, I guess it makes sense that Mama Welsh would know.
Yeah.
So we get introduced here, of course. They're moving. She has her hand in a sling, and of course, they hire someone who can't speak English.
Well, and I want to talk about Mom and her slingy arm, because she acts like it's completely broken. Okay.
Yeah.
I was watching her the whole time. She was picking shit up with that hand.
Yeah.
Her arm, it was not broken at all. It was freely moving in that sling. She didn't do a very good job selling the injury, that's for sure. If she was doing any kind of fraud, she would have been busted for sure.
Well, some moms can sometimes have that inhuman strength, especially if the little baby
lifting a car over. Okay.
So maybe it was
yeah. We'll go with that one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's just another thing I picked up is her lame broken arm acting. We'll say. Yeah,
it was a little bit suspect, because you're like, is it broken or is it sprained?
Yeah, no.
Or fractured.
She was healthy.
She was quite limbo.
She was.
Because you see her picking things up in the scene.
Freaking rights, man. Yeah. She's scamming the system, I think.
I think so. And, then of course she brings in, is that the only help they can get? And of course, this is the 80s, so everything is kind of, typical Spanish person.
Yeah,
can't speak English.
I guess, obviously there's going to be Spanish people living in Oregon, but I wouldn't know Oregon as a state where you'd see a lot of Spanish-speaking people. Usually it's a bunch of tree-hugging hippies, but...
Yeah. And I love the scene, how it carries out. It was when she comes in and stuff, and all these kids are there, and they're scrambling with the statue, and they broke in, they're trying to hide it and stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, you guys are in big trouble, so she gets mad because there's, chips on the ground.
Yeah.
And of course, Bran says, and I love this because I think a lot of us kids will know this when you've been around other friends or other family. Bran says shit, and the mom gives him heck for saying that word.
Yeah.
And right after and you get a sense that her and Mikey are the same because she mispronounces, words, and they correct her, and says, "That's exactly what I said." And Mikey says that throughout the whole movie. But right after Bran says shit, who says shit? Chunk. And she says nothing to him. Just ignores it. I just and to me as a kid growing up, I've seen that firsthand myself and other people, and it made me laugh. Like, this movie is,
it's great. In the details. I'll tell you, the writing is very detailed.
Yeah. So definitely good stuff. And then we get during this whole scene, it also sets up Chunk, where he's a habitual liar. And, because he's like telling them about the car chase, and they're like, no, Chunk.
Right, Chunk.
Just the time, when Michael Jackson came to use your bathroom, and then he's like, okay, it was
his sister.
It was his sister to come.
Janet, yeah.
Was it
Janet?
Latoya?
Who knows?
Latoya.
Yeah,
like I said, so Chunk's got game.
I believe
folks.
it. Yeah. I believe it.
Okay, so and then the best part is another good part. Mouth. We get introduced to his skill that he knows Spanish, so she has him to translate to Rosita.
Yeah, funny that
Rosalita.
Funny that Mama there didn't know that Mouth spoke Spanish. Yeah. Just because if he was part of a group of friends that always came over, didn't know he spoke Spanish. So that was maybe a little, a miss, but whatever. Yeah,
and you see her clearly. She has like a Spanish interpretation book,
Yes.
Spanish speaking English to understand, but obviously she doesn't know. So
right,
and of course a kid Mouth is
speaks perfect Spanish.
Yeah,
well, pretty much
perfect Spanish, but his what he's relaying to her is some interesting stuff.
Yeah,
and I love when they're going upstairs and they're talking about the attic, and he's talking about the torture chambers and stuff, and
the drugs.
And Rosalita was kind of hung out to that attic a little, and which I think that's a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
because they're going to be going to the attic, and she seemed kind of pretty intrigued with that attic.
Right, she was. She kept staring up there, going, "Oh, what's going on up there?" Yeah,
and she's got some good lines. I'm in a crazy house.
Yes, yeah.
So good stuff. So, Rosalita and Mama Welsh, they take off and leave the kids.
To the attic.
To the attic. So they go, and man, this attic is like super creepy.
It is. It is a great attic. I would never go up there alone.
And I don't know. I think they do mention in the dialogue, but it's crazy. They have never been up in that attic till that moment. Like, let's be honest.
Was it never?
No, they because
or was it maybe just long time?
No. They say they've never been up there. So and come on, it's kids. When they tell you not to do something, what do kids usually do? So a little bit of that, you're like, come on. And it's the Goonies.
Right.
Come
Adventure
on.
Goonies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they should have been up there, I guess, at some point.
Yeah. So, and I like actually during this time, Melf still keeps reminding Bran that he flunked his driver's license.
Just won't let it go.
Yeah. And then at this point, once I go to the attic, Chunk really states it that we're rejects, kind of like, so you're like, if you didn't already know, these are a group of people that just don't fit in.
Yeah.
So to kind of re-highlight what you and I have been kind of saying. So they go up there, and this attic, man, is just filled with all kinds of good stuff, like a typical Steven Spielberg kind of project, like.
Mr. Dress-Up's Tickle Trunk was up there, I swear.
Yeah, like this is like one of the coolest looking creepy attics filled with pirate paraphernalia. And if we didn't know it was pirate, Bran opens up a book about pirates.
Yeah.
So they're up there going through all that stuff, and you can see there's a lot of like production kind of stuff that I've seen in other movies, like the electric ball. And
Yeah, that means they've got power running up there.
yeah, they got power. So there's lots. Well,
It's a functioning room, right?
Well, that Astoria is a rainy, wet town. So
It
there'll be
is,
lots
yeah.
of
Oregon,
thunder
it
and
rains a
lightning
lot,
storms there. Yeah. So now they're looking, and of course they're looking at the picture, and Chunk, the Mr. Clumsy that he is, he drops the picture frame. And
Well, it didn't happen authentically like that because they wanted him to break that, and that's why.
Well, before he did that, he knocked some stuff over.
Oh, the first time up there. Okay, yeah.
And of course, Melf, he had this huge gag that got kind of busted by Mikey when he was sticking his tongue through the painting. So it's like it's like
that kid is a pervert. He is well beyond his years. I swear.
There's some, like he lives up to his name, Melf. Like sticking his tongue through like the old painting, like that. He's got no boundaries. That guy.
No.
And I like the fact that Mikey gets upset with him, but Melf gets equally upset because he ruined his punchline. Typical kid, no responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Chunk is being clumsy and stuff, and they're giving him heck, but then they start discovering stuff.
Yeah.
Old artifacts and stuff, and then the picture, and then they got Chunk.
The map. Right?
The map?
And there was
like
the glass.
The painting broke and stuff, and they find the map, and the map is... this is where we learn the story of the original Goonie, One-Eye Willie.
One-Eyed Willie.
And so the map is dated 1632, One-Eye Willie, and he's famous for having treasure on his ship.
Which is a galleon, just to let you know.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And they know the story because someone must have got away. But I like how they tell the story that they evaded the British Empire, and they came all the way to the catacombs there, Astoria.
Right.
And he basically barricaded and booby-trapped themselves in that cave.
Yeah.
And One-Eye Willie being very... I like that they talking... I just love it because it's kids talking and it's just, typical, like, movie like that.
Yeah.
One-Eye Willie. And it's like, especially when it comes to, like, pirate shows or those types of things, there's always, like, this treasure. So, Blackbeard, but in this case, One-Eye Willie took his treasure and his crew, and they kind of blockade themselves in here, and then he killed his crew.
Yes. And
so he didn't have to share his stuff. But
he died with his gold.
But how do they get the story, eh? So it's kind of like...
Yeah.
And Chunk, of all people, he's like, how did we get the map in the story get out? That's what he says in there. He was like, Chunk, the dummy of the bunch, is like asking them, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. Because, they're all caught up in this story about One-Eye Willie.
Yes.
And Chunk is the one who's being, the sensical one. He's like, how did this story... Wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
For the first time in the film, he's actually showing some common sense.
And you can see, especially with Mikey, he is like the most earnest of the crew and stuff. Like, he's like this adventure. You can tell this is the guy. He's led them in all kinds of interesting little side adventures.
He's already thinking about going on this adventure.
Yeah, he is the leader, which is kind of ironic that he was in Lord of the Rings there, Mr. Sean Astin.
Love Sam. Sean Astin.
Yeah, he's really good. And Encino Man.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, sidetracking here. So they find all this stuff, and then there's this loot, and then they start talking about that researcher archaeologist. What's his name there? Chester Copperpot.
Copperpot. Yeah.
Yes, and he went missing, and that. So Mikey's like, guys, this could be our ticket to... I like how these kids... And it's typical kids, right? This is great stuff. Typical kids like, hey, guys, if we go and complete this task that by someone who's a professional at this that died trying to find this, let's go find it ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to survive.
Yeah. So Mikey, because, the town is foreclosing. They all are moving. There's whatever. So...
Yeah, there was... Yeah, they had to do it.
All right, so this kind of really sets up. Now we're really in motion. So I like how the movie goes. We get the foreclosing kind of scene and the map. Then it goes to a scene where you see marbles. And watching that in hindsight, doesn't that remind you like when we were going to like school? I remember going to public school. The first, there's marbles. It was like a group of people everywhere. They had their little sacks of marbles. And
and a bunch of holes in the dirt too, and you'd be trying to use your smasher.
Yeah, and of course on the tube, Cyndi Lauper. You gotta get that tie-in with the song. So they're watching that, and then of course the band, Mikey, Data, Chunk, and Mouth, they gotta go. And Brand has put his foot down. I like that. Big brother. He's being responsible.
Yeah.
But the goons are not having it. So they ask him, and this is like Brand. He's kind of a. We'll get to him a little bit more, but good-hearted guy. But he's not always like the brightest guy.
No,
like,
he's like duped by a bunch of younger kids for sure.
What do you have that stretchy?
Yeah, that workout thing you used to stretch. Yeah,
and I just love how they ask him how far can you stretch it, and like without a second he stretches it.
Oh, about this far.
And of course, Chunk right on his chest, and then the guys they tie him up.
Yeah, use the heavy kid to weigh him down.
Yeah, and use the heavy kid and stuff, and they tie him up.
It's genius.
And it was. And the goons are. They're out, and I this is one of my favorite scenes because it reminded me so much as a child. Back in the day, when friends came over, you went over to them. You just like put your bike anywhere. You didn't lock it up, front driveway.
You just laid it down.
And they pick it up, jump on their bikes, and I like the attention to detail where they pop the tires, Brand.
Yeah, they let the air out.
Yeah. So they're out biking, and I love. It's like an aerial shot, and they're talking, and Chunk calls Data 00 negative, and he's like, it's 007!
I missed that, actually.
Yeah, man, it made me laugh. And it's like, this Chunk, of course Chunk would call it like that. Then, of course, Bran is trapped, and then Rosalita and Mom come home and stuff, and he's like, what are you doing on there? And, of course, typical... Mom's oblivious and sees their son.
Yeah.
I just love that. No sympathy, eh?
Yeah.
And then he gets loose and she's like, you get him back or I'm going to commit Harry Christmas on you. It's like, Harry Carey, Mom. That's exactly what I said. Yeah. I just love that, eh?
Yeah.
Like, just, And actually the mom, if you paid attention, she's the same mom that's in Monster Squad. With the main guy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
a little
good.
bit. Yeah, just a little tidbit there because you watched that recently.
I did.
Yeah. So now Bran is going to the rescue.
Yeah.
And I love this part because it plays the Cyndi Lauper Goonies theme.
Yeah.
Playing, and it's just a great scene.
Yeah. He realizes his bike is flying. He's like, my new bike!
Yeah.
So then what does he do? He sees that girl next door.
It must be Data's sister.
Data's sister. Yeah. He rips the girl off her bike with the training wheels.
Yeah, takes the bike. And if you watch closely, the little girl's lips are not matching up to the dialogue. She's like, my bike. But she's just there, and she just basically marches in one position. I love that. She's like, my bike. And she's just marching. But her lips are not moving, but you can hear. That's like typical 80. Yeah. So... 00 negative. So they're on the loose.
Yeah.
So this kind of takes us to the lighthouse restaurant scene.
Well, first, let's back up a bit. First, you see the Goonies. They're biking down the road there, and they end up at this cliff where they're using that stone to look through. First,
some great blue screen. Action.
Yeah, and they're looking through the holes in the stone to try and line up where the stone's going to lead them to, right? Of course, it's the two rocks. Then you got the restaurant, or the lighthouse, whatever you want to call it, where it was in 1862, right? So they find out where they need to go. They've seen where they need to go.
Yes, they're organizing.
And during that time, then you see Brand ripping down the road
the training bike.
On the training bike.
Yeah, that's true.
But then, who shows up driving behind them? Is
Troy,
the two jocks, Troy
and Steph and Andy.
In the back,
and good old Troy, typical male toxicity.
Yeah.
Is I love how he's taking his rear view mirror and he's flipping it so he can see down Andy's shirt and her skirt.
And her skirt, yes. Yeah, typical pervert.
I'm still trying to figure out how Steph and Andy, they must be like childhood friends, because like Steph just seems out of place hanging out with Andy.
She does, because she doesn't seem like the real feminine type. Like, she was kind of like a tomboyish, I feel.
She's more like a librarian to me. Like a person that's like, shh.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. I like librarians.
Water. I don't know. It's just weird. The crab thing, just... I don't know. She seemed like a tomboy, like, who wasn't afraid to get dirty, you know, as a girl. You know?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's
true.
what I mean.
But I'm just still kind of... I know I'm fixated, like, not fixated, but I'm perplexed. Like, it just seems out of, like, I can't see Andy, because Andy is obviously a popular girl. She's hanging out with Troy.
True.
She's got the brown boys all in her.
So was she there with that other dude? Because it's usually...
Well, she's a friend of Andy's.
Right, but then there's two jocks. Like, usually they hang out together because there's, you know, something on the rise.
And now that you brought up that scene, this scene is, like, so kind of... It's very... I mean, the whole movie's far-fetched. Like,
yes.
But...
Obviously.
So he drives up, and of course, typical guy, because Andy's... He was talking about going on a date with Andy. So you don't know... Cause I always thought as a kid, Bran was kind of like... He liked her, but she didn't really know him, so through this adventure is where they got... But through dialogue earlier, like, well, Bran was kind of talking about... He's got a date with Andy, but Melf reminds him, well, you didn't get your driver, so your mom's going to have to take you on the date, hey? So just to rub it in, eh?
Yeah.
And I never picked up until I watched it, like, this last go-ahead, because, you know, as a kid, or when you're younger, you don't sometimes pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, so Troy, and the thing is, I'm curious, honestly, Bran is, like, is he, you don't know what type of athlete he is. Like, the movie doesn't really establish, like, is he just some fit person? Does he play football? Because we don't know.
He doesn't wear a leather jacket, so we could assume he's not part of the football team, maybe, or, you know.
Well, up until that scene when Troy comes with the car, obviously Troy kind of picks on him. He's basically bullies Bran. But it's funny, like, Bran is, like, bigger than this Troy.
I know. Physically it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, but obviously it comes from a privileged point of view, I think, because his dad is really wealthy, status, so he looks really wealthy, So
he comes and, you know, of course, you know, probably embarrass your biking on a little child pedal
you
bike.
Can't get any lower than that as a
and of course, hey, Ben.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's there, and they're like, do you need a ride? And, of course, Troy grabs his hand and drives, and like, you're looking at, he's holding his hand on the car door, the Troy, and while he's driving, there's like no way he has enough strength to keep Bran.
No.
Like, I mean, I know.
There's no way. Physics would not allow that.
And yes, I know it's a movie, yes, I realize.
So we'll let it go.
Yeah.
We'll let it go.
You gotta let it go. But
it's fun. It's a fun scene.
Yeah, it's the one scene you're like, come on, but it's
fun.
fun.
And then he takes a nice jump off a cliff there in that little girl's bike, so probably destroyed the bike.
I mean, that's some serious shit. Like, what he did to Bran, like, people get killed.
Oh,
I mean, that's what's so awesome. I was
100%.
like, holy cow. He was like almost committed murder.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, you know, so, okay, great scene, though.
Yeah.
Even though I was, like, criticizing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now...
We got it.
We got her. So now we're at the Lighthouse Restaurant.
Okay, so first of all, I was doing some reading on IMDb. And, like you said, check it out for some pointers. And I saw some trivia. Now... They had a thing in there that said, "Oh, the restaurant in 1862 would not have existed." Well, we kind of know that
the lighthouse.
Because it's a lighthouse, and they turned it into a restaurant. But it's funny that whoever wrote that quirk on IMDb should do a little more thinking. I think I want to call that person out because really, no, it was not a restaurant in 1862, and anybody watching the movie can look at that restaurant and know that it was not a restaurant when it first built.
Yeah.
It was 100% like built in 1862. That thing was old. The wood was patinaed. It was grayer than gray. Like, there's not a brown piece of wood on that place. And it had that silo on the side of it too. Yeah. I took a lot of look at that. I even paused it and I looked at that really deeply, and obviously it was not a restaurant in 1862.
Probably for production they wanted to make the cabin look just as old and decrepit as like the lighthouse for a creepy factor. That's probably
they did a great job.
They did a great job.
It looked awesome.
It's creepy, eh? So I just love like the kids, eh? They're out kind of further away, and they're in the huddle, and you see two trench coat people walking into it, and they're right there. Red flaggers are going off with the crew. Like, wait a minute, this is a summer resort and it's not open. Why are people going in there? You know, kids are kind of, and of course, Chunk, his scare radar is. He's like, I got a bad feeling about this guy.
It's off the charts.
It's off the chart. Like he's hungry. I mean, he hasn't eaten in like maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and he did bike and stuff. So you can imagine the calories that Chunk killed.
That's a lot. Yeah, if he's gonna ride a bike, he's gonna need to eat a Twinkie soon for sure.
I just love Chunk. I'm hungry, guys.
Yeah.
So they go and they're walking, and I love like this typical kids. They're jumping around and hand in hand, and Chunk's falling behind. All of a sudden, gunshots go off, and it kind of stops everybody. But like, they keep going. But Chunk. He's having a panic attack.
Now, what I like about, and you can see this throughout the whole film, and we've even passed over it, is where they know how to manipulate Chunk.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like when they need something broken, who do they get to hold something? Chunk.
Yeah.
When they need to bust in that door in that restaurant, who do they get?
Yeah.
Chunk. They piss him off so much that he gets angry, and then he misses the guys, and he busts in the door.
And you know, it's perfect. The guy that really does most of the ribbing and really like antagonizes in his mouth.
Yeah.
Which is would be like
because he's the ignition. He needs to ignite Chunk.
Yeah, he ignites them. So I just like they're there. They hear gunshots, but most of them are like, they're going Chunk. So Chunk's going. He sees a Pepsi vending machine. So he's right now. It's time to get.
Pepsi is in this film about 50 times.
Yeah, if you don't see a Pepsi advertisement or some type of placement, then it's all over the place.
Yeah.
In this show.
Yeah.
Domino's is too.
Yes, 100%.
So and then of course he finds the Jeep with the bullet holes. But the boys are already in there, so...
And I love it when he's trying to yell at the guys, and he's like...
Yeah.
He can't talk, he's so freaked out.
And like, what makes this, like the kids feel so authentic as like kids, because like these kids are really loud. You know, there's like all kinds of ensuing commotion. Mm-hmm. It's you know, they walk in there, they're loud. Like there's nothing subtle about these kids, because kids wouldn't be subtle. Well, they're not.
No, they're not.
Yeah, like we weren't. I know for a fact.
No.
I still ain't. So yeah, they go in there, and this is where they meet. They meet the Fratellis.
Yeah.
And then so Mama blocks them in. And what do you guys want?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they wanted food first, but then she's like, we got water.
Yeah, and of course, Mel, you know, what do you want? I want this spaghetti pizza pie.
Yeah.
I want the... And he's going, and she grabs him, and the only thing we serve here is tongue, and pulls out a switch.
Yeah.
And at the time, you see like how beat up that actress is. Like she's got like a scar, tattoo. Oh man,
she's seen some shit.
Like she's perfect, like for this film, you know. And I think it was kind of awesome, like an older kind of lady being the main villain to the Goonies. Like it's just perfect.
We'll give a kudos to the casting director, whoever did the casting.
Great cast.
That's a great cast.
Yeah, you know, and it has enough where like I mean, the Fratellis, they blatantly murder 2 FBI or cop or people like that, but it still has the blend of that comedy, because the two brothers they're idiotic.
Oh, and they won't stop.
They're having it still, yeah. And I just like when he comes, he's like, I'm supposed to create art here, and he comes out, he sees these kids, and I'm like, what the heck, eh?
Yeah.
And I love the water she brings them. Eh?
Oh
like,
God,
what is that?
That was not water.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course, Mikey, I gotta go pee, because the map, the center of where they are is.
He's always thinking to move ahead.
I go to the bathroom. Can't you hold it? No.
Yeah, and then so this might call back later, but Mel starts antagonizing by pouring the 2 cups of water back and forth, getting him to go, and then it's excelling the situation.
Yeah.
So he's freaking out even more, which makes Mama Fratelli go, fine, go over there, but don't go that way, go this way. So it was a great way to get him down there.
And you notice like the little gag there because Mama Fratelli, she's rough looking. When she brings the water there, Mikey's like, "Thank you, sir." She's just like, "I mean, ma'am." So it's
that was great.
Yeah. So then, and at that point, we meet the true hero of the film, Sloth.
Good old Sloth. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite an entrance. He's watching. Like I don't know if you noticed, and this is what great the detail of this movie.
What was he watching?
He's watching a pirate show, but I think it was Earl Flynn flick.
Okay.
That's like, I think from the 30s, 40s.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
He's like a swashbuckler, did like all kinds of fencing.
When he's watching that pirate flick, that is some foreshadowing because...
Yeah, some foreshadowing.
That happens later on in the film.
Yeah. So it's not a stretch when we get to the end of the film. He's really good with the sword and all that. So we get introduced to him. So he runs into him and then... The kids get together in the basement, and I like how Mikey says there's an it down there. Oh no, hold on a second. Mikey goes back up, and she kicks him out.
Yes.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So because Bran comes, and he's like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So I don't know, did Bran? Cause you're like, well, did he sneak in himself, or was he talking to?
Yeah, he must have snuck in.
Yeah, but then again, when they're leaving, Bran's grabbing them. Mama Fratelli is just like, get out, which is odd that they would allow these kids. I guess, well, they're not going to kill kids. Or kids.
No.
Even they have.
And as they're leaving, I noticed that one of the glasses of water were empty. Now, I doubt anybody drank some. Chunk could have, but obviously Mouth was kind of pouring some back and forth, so that was kind of interesting because when she brought them at first, they were all full. So for him to be able to do that, some of the water had to have been spilt or drank. So I'm going to chalk it up as someone drank that water.
Yeah, Chunk. Like who's the gluttonous one?
Yeah, I say Chunk drank the water.
He got so thirsty. Yeah, he can help.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. unless Data, put it in his little canister and was going to use it for like something later.
Well, you never know.
Who knows? But anyways, there's some missing water. There's some.
There was.
So all right, Brad comes. They go outside and stuff, and now they don't want to go. Yeah. So they wait for the Fratellis.
But then they meet up with Steph and Andy there.
Well, yeah, that's when the Fratellis leave. And
right.
And Steph and Andy scare them.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is Steph and Andy there? And how do they know where Bran and all them would be?
I don't know.
Is there a theory? And I have a theory here.
Okay, let's hear it.
I have a theory that because in non-summertime, that would be a place where like kids would go, like teenagers, where it could be a place to go hang out, have drinks, and maybe make out. So I have a theory that little Miss Andy, this is not her first foray.
It's a theory. It's a theory. I don't know if I subscribe to that one. My theory would just be, after Brand wiping out on the girl's bike, kind of going in that direction that he needed to go anyways, and after the dick move that Troy just pulled on them, they probably said, let us out, we're done. Yeah. And then they maybe just walked a little bit into the woods and happened to see that open field with the restaurant. That's my theory.
Well, that's a more likely
it's
theory.
kind of part of some movies. You just got to kind of make it up as you go a little bit. You got to fill in the blanks a little bit.
I think
but yours is fine too.
Mine's a little more risque.
It's more risque,
yeah. But yours is more likely because, and again, like that's a place that probably I'm assuming that they have all visited.
Well, if they live near there, then they probably know of the place, right?
But it's just funny they show up there.
Yeah.
And then of course they go back.
Yes.
But the thing is, at this point, there's some pheromones and things happening with Andy and Brand.
Yes.
And Andy, she's mesmerized by his tracksuit.
Yeah, and Steph is constantly rolling her eyes at the sight of those two.
Have you noticed how repulsed actually Steph is with that kind of stuff? As it goes on in the film, she gets grossed out.
Yeah.
She's like, like I don't know, like I'm assuming Steph. I have a theory that I think Steph is asexual. Okay, I'm just.
Well, who knows, right? But I mean, it's a possibility. But I still
or jealous.
I want to dive into the whole her and mouth thing. It's weird.
Well, we'll get to
an unspoken attraction.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We may as well. I think why there is almost like there is something hinting between Mouth and Steph. In real life, Corey Feldman and Martha Plimpton, they're the same age, but in the film, Steph looks more mature.
Well, because the girls typically grow a lot quicker as in the teenage years. They definitely
in the film you figure there's a couple years, but in real life, so I don't know. So you can imagine that those two, as actors and actress or something, there's something. I don't know if they were trying to, but it almost felt like there was a little bit of a slight. There's a history involved, but also there's like a putting in the seeds that there's something between those two.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
So we're in the restaurant.
And so Andy, they follow them in, and you get, like you said, Steph and Mouth. There's an antagonism between the two of them, and you're kind of wondering what's that all about. There's tension. So.
Yes.
And I love how, actually Andy does something that's very typical, I'm going to say, of women. She, they leave him and she tells Bran that she punched him or elbowed him. And I was like, because I don't know about you, but I don't know, we can maybe edit this part out, but I found Andy did, she, when you talk to her, she's like, yeah, if she likes you, but she'll tell you about some guy that hit on her. And I just like how she tells him right away that he's trying to look down her shirt and stuff, and
you gotta make the competition jealous.
Yeah,
man.
It's almost like you gotta make him like what? Yeah. It's like what So to me, those are red flags. Andy, she wants to make the jealous type.
Yeah, because it's she's like, hey, by the way, this guy did this to me. How can you gonna up the ante? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I just love how she comes up to him. How's your face? Like, she's concerned about him, and he's like, oh, it's my face. Yeah. And then she's like, anyways, he was trying to look down right into that. Tells him it's like, I don't know. As a guy, you don't really want to hear that.
No, guys don't want to hear that. That probably pisses them off.
Gals out there, no. No. But, in the other hand, maybe, I think a lot of gals, in a way, to let you know that I'm not interested in him, so I warded off his advances and stuff, so I got to give her some slack, there's that.
Yep.
But I just thought it was kind of funny, is like his face, but right into, he was trying to look down my shirt.
It was an odd thing. Wait a minute,
he was trying to look up your skirt, man.
It was an odd thing to say at that moment, yeah.
It was, but it's still great stuff.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they want to get back in there, so they need Chunk to open the door, and of course, Mouth tells them about his mom in risque photos, and Chunk, no, that's it. Roll like a China cab through the door, they're back in there. Yeah. And so they're back in there, and I like how Steph and Andy are out there, and then they step on that rake that has a fish head on it, so it freaks them out.
Yeah.
And they run in there, and they're like, the guys are like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are you in here? And you're like, oh, something attacked us. It came out of the woods. And I was like, I just love how they exaggerated it. I thought that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
Like they got attacked. So, and then, of course, Steph and Bran, right there. They're in a shack. So, and of course, Steph she's disgusted. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so. She is a lot with them too.
And then what is it? They're I think is when they say slip. So Steph, when the guys, I think they're almost going to kiss, and then Mouth says, slip her the tongue. Steph gets really disgusted. I know I'm kind of focusing on Steph's disgust, but I found it really odd that she was very disgusted by those two getting it. You figure as a friend, you'd be like...
Her character is one that I've been trying to figure out for a while, and it's kind of hard to figure out where she comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why. They just kind of, they really stood out to me that...
Yeah.
as a friend, you'd be kind of happy and, you know.
Yeah.
But she was almost like she was really grossed out, maybe jealous.
Grossed out at those two, but then I swear her and Mouth had something going.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I know it sounds like we're kind of dwelling on the Steph's fixation or non-fixation, but it really stood out to me watching this. I'm like, why is Steph so disgusted with them?
Yeah.
You know, because she's the same age, so... But, you know, some people develop later.
Yeah.
So at this time, they find the counterfeit machine. And I love this is typical kids.
Well, of course Data found it.
Yeah, of course Data finds it. And he's all excited, like, hey, we're safe, we got the money and stuff. And they're, you know, like, right to conclusion, this has got to be too, you know, and of course Brown's like, it's counterfeit. Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, so that was good stuff. And then they find the Chunk. He smells ice cream.
Yes, because he was getting hungry.
Yeah, he's like Scooby-Doo. He's kind of like the Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
Like, he's smelling, who, in this, okay, how you smell ice cream? And of course, they find the dead body. You know, like, when I was a kid, like, young, when I first saw it, that part really freaked me out.
Really?
A little bit.
Well, especially when the dead body kind of fell over and landed on Chunk, like, face to face.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, and the kids, ah!
Yeah.
And I think another reason why, around that time, I watched Stand By Me. You ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Where it's basically these kids are, well, Corey Feldman.
Going on an adventure.
But they
see a dead body.
A dead body. And I was always, like, I think when I was a kid, seeing that dead kid, that always kind of freaked me out. So when I saw this, I kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So, because I think I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
When I saw this.
We were young. So we
kind of freaked me out.
This was the best of the best.
Yeah. So, and then the Fratellis come back, of course. And I love the Fratelli brothers, where they get pizza, and the one brother is like, "You're gonna eat all my pepperoni," so he throws a pepperoni, and then the one brother pulls out his gun, and the other brother pulls out a gun. Like, these guys are ready to shoot each other, brothers, over pizza.
Yep. Yep. They're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, they're not. It's funny, and I think you need a scene like that to kind of bring it down. This is a kid's adventure.
Yeah, it makes it not so serious.
Yeah.
So it makes it a fun movie.
Because I was, like, thinking, like, for you, like, as a parent, when would you have introduced a movie like this with your kids? Because, like, there's
I would have thought anywhere from... I mean, I don't want to be the prude out there, because I know parents would be like, "Oh, you're a prude, you don't let your kids watch till later." But I don't know. To comprehend the film, I would say like 6, 7, 8, maybe, like something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a decent age, like 6, 7, and 8. But I don't know if it'd be like, you know, you're 4 years old, you can't watch this. I guess, maybe I wouldn't play it for my 4-year-old kid, because they probably wouldn't understand everything anyway. So I would say around the 7 or 8-ish.
So at this point, Brand's like, "Hey, we got to get out of here now." Let's, you know, and the Fratellis are back, but Mikey's like not having it. It's like there's nothing to go back to and stuff. And the map and the compass thing that kind of says this is the spot, but they're like, "Well, where is it?" Of course, Chunk. Melf says something, and Chunk's like, "I've had all I could stand," and then he knocks over the Culligan glass thing, spills, and hey, Chunk's blunder leads to wonder.
Yes, it does. Yes.
So they find, and then they end up going down there.
Yep.
But they go down there, but then they're right away, they regret going down there because they went out of there, but then it's too late because the Fratellis are back.
Come back.
But Chunk, because they put the dead body back, got stuck in the ice freezer, so he's now separated.
Yeah.
But they're down there. Chunk, go, can you go get us help? So Chunk's in the clear, but you know how he messed that up.
Well, I'll say that Chunk will be the savior later on.
He is, yeah.
He really is.
And there's some good stuff where Chunk runs. And the thing is, like, if you really thought about it, and think they're kids, but we already saw a scene that they're getting rid of the bodies. There's 2 bodies.
Yeah.
So rational, I mean, this is a movie, and it's kids, but I love the fact that Chunk's running, and the first car he sees, he doesn't even know. The window's not even down, and he's telling the story. Mister, you gotta help me. There's these bad people, the Fratellis. I can tell. His eyes are closed, chubby cheeks. You know, I just love it. And well, it's the Fratellis. And so the one brother, the hair weave brother, grabs him. And I love this scene because the one brother that's driving, he's singing, Italian opera. And the one brother's trying
really
to
good too, actually.
Really good.
It sounded
good. Robert Davey, whatever his name is, he's really good. I like him, actually.
He's
I
funny.
like him as an actor. But I love how his brother is struggling getting Chunk in the car.
Yes.
His little kid, because he's struggling. His hair's moving.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So now they're in the tunnels. The kids they're moving forward, and they're having problems, and Andy's having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I just love it. She's having a panic attack, and I like how if you listen to her dialogue, she's talking about that I'm going to die young and this and that, and then of course she's I have a nice body, and Brad, yeah, a nice body. She's like, yes, you have a really
like, what
nice
is he
body.
supposed to say?
Yeah, what is he supposed to say? I just love that. So they're like, what is going on here? So Andy's having a hard time. So they're trying to. I think Steph. And maybe that's why she keeps Steph. Steph kind of grounds her.
Yeah. She was a good friend to Andy.
She was good. So, and this is where they find Mr. Chester
Copperpot.
Whatever. His remains.
Yeah, who cares, eh? Only the first person trying to get the treasure and didn't live to tell about it.
Yeah, so they're kind of examining the body, and they find more information? I can't remember. They find like more pieces.
They do. Now there's another trivia question on the IMDb here. Now they find a baseball card.
Yeah.
They found and I don't know the details of this trivia, obviously, so it's not going to play out well. But I just know that the baseball card that they found on him didn't work with the timeline where he died. So I just know that I believe the baseball card is actually newer than when he died. So I don't think it makes any sense for him to have that baseball card.
Yeah.
So I'll say that.
And also, part of this is that I love this scene because this is where Mouth because his dad's a plumber, so they're trying to figure out where they are. So Steph's like, well, Mouth, these pipes and stuff. And they start kind of like shaking the pipes.
It's funny how they got like these just random pipes under the dirt.
Yeah.
And then there's a big cave underneath.
Yeah.
And you got these pipes just, hanging in the balance. You don't even have any like ceiling. It's just dirt above you. So it's just really strange.
Very strange. And then the pipes that they're moving, they must be under some type of recreational fitness spa because
there's tennis courts there.
There's tennis court and stuff. And this is like a scene you actually kind of see typically in like I remember seeing in a lot of 80s. There's like old dudes always having like a shower scene together.
And one dude had a soap on a rope.
Soap on a rope. And did you notice the one guy? And I don't know if this is foreshadowing One Eye Willie, but the one guy had a patch.
Oh, I missed that one. Yeah, so, no way.
And then of course Troy.
That's good.
And Troy had to go number 2, and like I don't know like if he's wearing like almost like like what a baby wear, almost like a onesie, but like he's on the bathroom, and I love that his magazine is ammo.
Yes.
So like Troy is like your typical jock
with magazines, no cell phones back in those days. You had to look at a magazine.
Yeah. So he's on the ship. So he's going in there for a while. Like he ain't messing around. He's in there for a long haul because he's got ammo.
Yes.
And of course they move the pipes and he explodes up into the wall, shoots him out of the stall, and
which would never happen.
But
it's still funny.
But with the Goonies, it does happen.
It does happen.
And Troy, he couldn't handle that, and he called for Daddy.
Daddy! Laying on the wet floor with his ass full of shit.
That's the best part is like this guy is not only is he a bully, but he is such a like he's like a daddy's boy.
Oh,
like,
he's
like
a daddy
Troy
boy.
is like just like this guy is like you wonder how is this guy actually like the captain of the football team?
Right?
Like he's a pud.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you look,
Daddy. That's so funny.
Oh, good stuff. And then the crew Data finds some candles. right by Chester.
You would have thought that he was a good reader, but apparently not. Because didn't it say dynamite on the side?
Well, it was dark.
I know.
So they're a little disoriented.
Okay, we'll give him that one.
Well, that's the thing. Is Data is, he's the
failed inventor.
Yeah, he's the failed inventor, but he still is the sharpest guy.
Yes,
and he's definitely the most has the most courage out of the bunch.
He does, man. He is super brave.
Yeah,
he is super brave.
He puts his life on the line. Just getting over to his friend's place, he pretty much was.
Yes.
Almost suicidal.
Yeah. He's crazy. He's a little bit crazy.
But after when you're hanging around Indiana Jones, come on. How do you go down from there?
That's right.
So I like the candles is dynamite. And then of course the bat scene. I like the scene with the bats. It was a good effect.
It was good.
Really good effect. Really good.
Now, in all reality, with the bats flying around them, you know that those bats would have gotten tangled in the girl's hair.
Oh,
100%, right?
Yeah.
Like Andy would have had probably about 4 bats stuck in her hair because I know that happens a lot. But yeah, it was great. The bats were good.
Thank God Andy had her panic attack before.
Yes.
Because if she didn't, she would have been done.
She would have exploded.
So she smart thinking, have the panic attack before.
Yes.
Anytime if you're under in tunnels, have the panic attack before you have a bat attack.
So now during this time, I believe the Fratellis have Chunk tied up on a chair, or just on a chair, right? And they're all surrounding him with the blender. They got the throwing tomatoes in the blender, saying, "Listen, kid, if you don't tell us everything, your hand's going to go in here."
And this is a brutal scene.
But they say, "Listen, kid, tell us everything." And he goes, "Everything?" And they're like, "Everything." He's like, "Well, first time in 3rd grade, I was in history." Now, first of all, I want to say that what's he doing learning history in 3rd grade?
Yeah.
Who takes history in 3rd grade?
Historia.
I guess. They must be more far advanced in education if you're taking history in 3rd grade. But
how so? Chuck doesn't seem like he's far advanced in anything.
Well, he's a savant. I think he's a savant.
Oh, so he's actually playing it up.
I think he is. I think he really is secretly. And I'll call back to it later.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you think about it, he does play
everything he's done has been for the better of the crew. Like, we'll say, while they're interrogating him, and he's telling everything, like from his family life to school life, literally everything.
Fat camp.
Yeah. You know what he's doing? He's stalling for the Goonies to get further down into the tunnel so they can get to the treasure. He's super smart.
He is. But he almost does run out. And I like this scene. It plays out a while because it cuts back to the Goonies. And then back to him.
And then back to him again.
And he's still telling the story.
And he's crying. He's crying. He's a great staller.
He's a great staller. So, but then he kind of uses it up, and Mama Fratelli's had enough. It's time to get that his little hoof in there.
Yeah.
And they run it and stuff. But lo and behold, the water and the draft, or what was, I can't remember, that kind of sets him off like, oh, he is telling the truth. Because they don't buy it. Like, Mama Fratelli does not buy it anything.
Yes.
So he almost got his hand in the blender.
He almost did.
Yeah, that was a great effect. Because seeing that tomato,
the tomato,
I was always then after that, like, looking at blenders, kind of like, oh, I put my, yeah,
it's one of the things that you just don't want to think about.
Yeah, you're watching it like to this day, like I'm picturing Chunk's hand in there, but it's my hand. Oh boy, so great stuff. But he says so. They come up with the Fratelli, the oldest Fratelli there. Comes up with a great idea. We should keep him around in case, and then Mama Fratelli, great idea. So locking, which wasn't that great of an idea. Locking him up with their sloth.
With sloth, because he all of a sudden, what does he do? He kicks the food over to sloth. I think the tray.
Actually, that was actually Mikey earlier.
That was Mikey earlier. Never mind. Sorry, I'm thinking.
But he locks him up and stuff and.
Right. Yeah. Oh, the chocolate bar scene. That's what
the Baby Ruth.
The Baby Ruth.
The Baby Ruth.
That's right.
Yeah, so,
that's right.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. So, and then during that time there, the crew kind of come across, think they found the treasure, and they're all excited, but it turns out it's a wishing well. And they find, like, all those coins and stuff. And so, and Mikey at this point is kind of like, him and One Eye Willie have a connection. Now, when my Willie's dead, and he's been dead for, 200 and some years.
Okay, wait. I want to back up a little bit. Did the boulder scene already happen after Chester Copperpot? Right, there was a booby trap.
Oh
there.
yeah.
The booby trap. Okay, so they got by the booby trap, and those big stone things came crashing down.
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. I thought of that right away.
Data short round.
That's right. Yeah,
that's great.
I just want to make sure we
we gotta get that. That was great stuff. Yeah, booby traps. Yeah.
So then that led them to the wishing well.
Yeah, and it comes to them. They have an epiphany that they're on like. They're groundbreaking right now because
they've gone further
than Chester Copperpot.
He's gonna butcher his name all day.
Yeah. If you don't know, I'm not the best at names, so I will butcher them. So
that's okay.
As we go on, I will be butchering names. Fun. It kind of does, So And if you're like kind of one of those like a word grammar, what do they call them? Nazi? Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's your own narcissism.
We ain't perfect.
That's your own narcissism.
That's right.
But that's a great scene because again that reminds you about what they talked about in the attic about he said booby traps so no one can come and get his loot.
Yeah.
That's one thing about One Eye Willie.
Data always called it booty traps.
Booty traps.
Booty traps.
And again, they were correcting because that's what they said, booty traps.
That's right. I love that.
I just love that. Like people, they don't. It's so authentic because like people. That's like,
in a way, it's kind of correct because when you talk about treasure, pirate treasure, you call it booty.
Yeah. Booty.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. No,
I kind of like it.
So actually, Data's right.
It kind of is a booty trap.
Yes. Yeah. It is kind of booty.
Yep.
Because the booty. As Shaft would say.
Okay, moving on.
Well,
let's not get rated R here.
Well, no, it's So, of course, at the wishing well, they're at the wishing well, but guess who's there too? Troy and the boys at the wishing well.
What are they doing? They're leaning over the wishing well, talking about Andy.
Yeah,
and then flicking quarters,
asking Troy where he is and stuff.
What a sap! What a loser!
Yeah, well, they're all losers.
Be this jock, and you're like, well, I wonder what Andy thinks of me. Like, Jesus, dude! Like, you guys got no confidence, and he's freshly cleaned up after the shit scene.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah, no, he's there and like he's wishing, and it is kind of a good scene. And then they kind of go back where Chunk and the Sloth he introduced him to the Baby Ruth, and Chunk, being the great guy he's gonna share it with him. But being a klutz that he is, the Baby Ruth doesn't make it too far, and then Sloth is like, I'm not having it. I need me some Baby Ruth. Baby Ruth are good bars. So he uses that special. Maybe neat special power, that extra strength, and he loosens the chains.
Yeah.
Well, so much where he's like, what, screw this, I'm going to break the chains.
Yep.
And he gets himself some Baby Ruth. And I like how he shares it with him, and they're having their moment, and Sloth picks him up and kisses him, and I love what Chunk says. Man, you smell like Fizzhead. and it's perfect. It kind of came from, sweaty, but it came from Chunk because that's probably not his favorite.
That's right.
Favorite, class. Yeah. So then back to Troy and them. Andy's calling for help, and what are you doing down there? And of course, Troy being the sympathetic guy that he is, all right, we'll help you, making fun of it.
Yeah.
And then they kind of have a talk there.
Mikey sparks the conversation. He has a great speech here. This is a game-changing speech.
Yeah.
Basically tells him, like, listen, we've already made it past this far. We might as well keep going. Goonies never say die. Like, it's a pivotal moment. Like, Mikey just he puts on his big boy pants and he leaves the team. Yeah. He says, listen, no, we're not quitting here. We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And then after that speech, Troy pulls up the bucket and you see Andy's jacket.
Yeah.
No!
Andy, like a Darth Vader. You Goonies. Like that's like the worst thing, right?
Yeah.
So Andy,
it was great.
Andy turns to the dark side and becomes a member of a Goonie. Because at that point, she kind of says before the speech there, she's like, I'm not a Goonie. And then Mikey's like, you are a Goonie.
He turned her.
And he does christen her later.
He gets rewarded for that later. Yes, he does.
Yeah, he gets it. Well, it's perfect. And and then part of the booby trap is their Data almost fell into that cataclysm there, and his dentures with his thing saves him.
Yes, what were they called? Something claws.
Yeah, they're like a set of dentures. It catches almost like it's like a grappling gun, like it's like a Batman's grappling gun, but it's basically it's a spring with dentures.
Pretty much. Yeah. He had a name for them, and I forget the name.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. I'd have to, but no, I didn't.
What was it? Yeah, I thought I had it written down here, but I don't. Oh, no, I don't have it. Sorry. I thought I had it written down.
Anyways, his bat grappling gun.
Yeah, we'll say that.
I love that gag. Like it's so corny. And then of course we got to do our pee break. This scene's the pee break.
Yes, the pee break.
And I like Mikey, being the leader. Okay, pee break, and who's got to go? So I mean, these kids have been on this adventure how long? So everybody's got to go.
Right, and Brant splits them up and says, "Boys on this side, girls on that side."
Yeah, well, it was Mikey says, "Boys here."
Oh, was it Mikey?
And girls on that side, and then Brand is going. And he's like, "Where are you going?" This is the men's side.
Oh, yeah.
And then the rest of the crew, the guys, all go to the men's side.
Yeah.
So they're all peeing. And, of course, Andy, now that she's a...
Sorry.
Is there another... Am I missing a scene?
No, I just found out Data's pinchers of power. Pinchers of power. What? That's what they were called.
I mean...
Yes.
Pinchers of power.
I knew I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah. Yes, I got it.
Pinchers of power.
Pinchers of power.
Double negative.
Yes.
He doesn't leave
so
home
moving on to the pee scene.
Yeah. Doesn't leave home without pinchers of power.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, that's a great tidbit. So it's pee break. Of course, well, Andy, you know what? This is the perfect time to get to some lip on lip action. And she's talking to Steph and and I think it was a little bit before. This might be even further back. I'm not gonna go too far back, but I like how Andy is because she's so into Bran, and she's like, "Look at him. She's telling Steph, look at him. He's so good with that." And Steph's like, "Come on, you're in the clouds. We're in a sewer."
Yeah, see, she's keeping her grounded.
She's keeping her grounded. Yeah. I just love that. So, but obviously that didn't keep her grounded.
No,
because she's in there. Brandon, come here, eh? And so he's like, "What is she babbling about?" Mikey, go see what there is, of course. So the setup is there, and
it's dark.
It's dark. It's dark, and yeah, we're good.
Okay,
we're good. Make it so we're good. It's dark. It goes in there, and it happens, right? So she puckers up and
she pulls him in.
She pulls him in quite aggressively.
Quite aggressively, she pulls him in and starts kissing him.
Yeah, so you know what? Mikey might have not went to the. Well, actually, he did go to the men's section. So not only did he pee in the men's area, he also became a man.
That was a defining moment for Mikey. Yes, he became a man at that moment.
And
right after the speech, right
after the speech. So I don't know, but the best part is the whole time the old Miss Disgusted was watching.
Yep.
The whole there is.
But this time she wasn't disgusted.
Oh, she was almost she was loving it.
Yeah. This time she was like, "Come on," she's pulling her gently.
She's laughing.
She was giggling about it. So this time she wasn't disgusted. Why? Yeah. Because she knew it was Mikey she was kissing.
Because I
think Steph knew.
I think secretly she was hoping Bran would get some kissing.
Yeah.
What else could it be?
Yeah. Well, I actually think she realized who she was kissing was Mikey. That's why she was giggling.
She's okay with that?
No, I'm not saying she was okay with it, but I think it was funny to her that Andy had missed.
No, it is.
You know what I mean? It is hilarious, yeah.
But it is. But it's also kind of creepy because she's watching the whole time. She's there, watching this go down.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I watched that scene and she's right there. Watching all in full.
Steph, if you're out there, let us know what were you doing.
Yeah, Martha. I mean,
yes, Martha. Sorry.
I might have to do some follow up research here because I don't get that, but I like that she's laughing and and typical. that's probably maybe the first girl outside his mom. Kiss, and he's in cloud 9.
Oh, 100%.
Like, he didn't even know where he's going. This way, lover boy.
Yeah.
which is great. So she's loving it. Like, it's hilarious. Because, and the things, maybe she must thrive in maybe Andy's misadventures in the romance.
Maybe
that's what it is.
Maybe.
I don't know. It was a great scene.
It was.
Great scene. And then she comes back and says, how was it and stuff. And the thing is, like, I didn't know he had braces. But... the thing is, like, if you watch that scene, obviously it wasn't that bad for her.
No.
Like,
no,
Mikey
she enjoyed it.
Because, hey, man.
Apple doesn't fall
far from the trees, eh? So it's pretty good. She's loving it and stuff. And she's like, he was like standing in a puddle. He said braces, eh?
Yeah, so, that's why you're so short.
Great stuff. Yeah. Great stuff, man. And kind of a side note here. What I picked up in this movie, and this is something that I really noticed in so many shows, and I think this is one of the reasons why I personally could never really get much into Stranger Things. One, Stranger Things, this is a little bit of a side, but I have to say it because this show really, like Goonies, these kids feel like authentic kids. It doesn't feel like it's young child actors acting in a movie. It's like these are kids. It could be any one of us. Where my problem with like a show like Stranger Things, it has a nostalgia, and the actors and actresses are really good for their age, but it felt like they were acting. It didn't feel like authentic 80s children to me. Their relationship dynamics, it just didn't feel real or right to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment.
And another thing is what I like about this show is you see a lot of shows where kids or people go on these extraordinary adventures, and they end up being kind of really extraordinary people, where one's all of a sudden has this great physical prowess, where these kids, they're in a preposterous, but it's not exaggerated. Like, these kids actually are not that good. Outside of Data's stuff, they're really like, they're in way over their head.
Well, Data's not that good either.
No,
I
he's
think
not.
He just gets lucky.
Like, if you think about these kids in the show are like, the adventure is, yes, it's a big adventure and it is preposterous, but they're not like really capable people. Like, they're like, it would be like us in this adventure.
Yeah, they're a bunch of screw-ups. Yeah,
they're screw-ups and like stuff. Like, if you really look at it, they're not really that handy.
But that's what makes this film that much greater, because you're not expecting it from these kids.
Yeah. So this kind of scene, after this scene kind of takes us to a major scene where Andy now, kind of discovering the Walsh brothers, she plays the piano of death.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, before they get there, this is when I believe we got to go back to the Fratellis and Chunk. So Chunk.
They're in pursuit now.
So like the Fratellis are in pursuit.
Yeah.
Of the kids.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where Data once again uses his slick shoes.
Yeah.
Right? When they're crossing that beam.
Yeah.
So he sets that up with oil so that, they can't get past or whatever.
Yeah.
And then allows them to buy time while they're at the piano with Aggie. Yeah. So that Data does kind of give them extra time there. And
there's some good gags here, because both the brothers slip and fall on their manberries.
Yes.
And for once in the movie... Graciously. And for once we see Mama Fratelli show some compassion, but then she goes back to abusive behavior to them.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't she? Yeah. Like, I just like going way back when they were going down into the hole there, they didn't want to go in there, and she like points a gun. So she's
okay, Mom. Okay, Mom.
Yeah, Mama Fratelli is a very very abusive individual.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's a great mom.
Like you're like she only drops off you once or twice.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. So Data again, slick shoes, and doesn't he, while they're playing the piano, and now Andy has to come in too, and she hasn't played the piano since she was a little girl. Yeah. So it's a great scene.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like this skeleton wood.
It was a really cool organ. Yeah, it was awesome.
Crazy. Like, man, One Eye Willie and his crew, how meticulous they were to keep people from getting
taking a long time.
I mean,
to make that booby trap.
I'd be bummed out if I was like one of his like subordinates, and he ends up killing you. You go through all that to like set up to protect the treasure, and then it meant nothing to you.
I know, right?
Like, what a dick.
Yeah.
So Andy plays the deaf piano, and that's a great scene because when she plays a bad note, means the end of them, right?
Yeah. So a piece of the rock goes falling into the ocean water in that cave there. Yeah.
And Data was on the lookout, and there was a moment there. Data's like, well, no, they're not there anymore. They're good, but they grab him, and then I don't know, like his coat. I don't know how much he is weighted down, but he has a boxing glove, a punch glove, and he knocks out one of the Fratellis.
Yes, yeah, and then buys some more time.
Buys some time.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and but then they actually in their way Andy playing the piano foul kind of bought them some time because it's kind of separated them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but then she hit the right notes.
Right. Yes.
And they're on their way.
Yeah.
Yes. With SO. And I think at that point they kind of end up, I don't know if there's anything, obviously the Fratellis follow suit, Chunk and Sloth are kind of tailing behind.
They're coming. Yeah.
And then one of the iconic scenes that I remember, and I think it definitely iconic, is they hit the water slide down.
The water slide, my favorite part.
It was like, you know,
watching this as a kid was my favorite part at the time, just because as a kid going to a water slide park as a child, you know how fun it is.
Yeah.
So this water slide would have been badass.
Oh, you can imagine.
So awesome.
Yeah, that must have been awesome for the kids doing it. And they probably had to do take after take. And I like how the water, they cover every person's perspective.
Yeah, but you notice how when they come out of the water slide, some of them took different routes somehow because it was a face of a skull.
Yeah,
and so some of them would come out the eye, some of them would come out the mouth, so it was like, wait a minute, who made a wrong turn somewhere? You know?
Yeah, it's like all of them went to like a different route, but they all went the same route, didn't they?
Either way, they all still ended up in the same ocean part there. Yeah,
and in a side note, it kind of made me think. I kind of felt bad for the actress that played Andy. All the kids, like Brandon's wearing 3 pants, and this and that, and she's wearing like a cheerleader outfit.
I know.
So she's like, wearing this little skirt. Like she kind of got.
And now her jacket's gone.
Her jacket is gone. So she's like in a t-shirt and this super short skirt. Like the poor girl, like.
She wasn't dressed for the adventure, so you gotta feel bad.
Yeah, you gotta feel bad for her. You can imagine.
Yeah.
But do you feel bad for the boys?
No.
Just saying.
No. Well, if you're going to go on an adventure, I mean, a little bit of eye candy helps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Keeps the spirits up.
Yeah. And then, so they're in the water and the ship.
Okay, so now, before we get to the ship, I do believe that there is a deleted scene here.
Yeah, but is that... I thought the deleted scene was a little bit later.
After they leave the ship, are you saying?
Yeah, because I'm not sure if the...
It's hard to tell.
Because, and you notice it at the end of the movie...
Before. I don't know.
And it's kind of weird that I never remembered this scene, but then I think one time it was on TV, and I saw this scene where it had the octopus.
Yeah.
The octopus scene, but I can't remember.
And it's a bad scene.
I'm glad.
It's terrible.
I'm glad I never got to see it as my first viewing.
Me too.
Because it is awful. But it's funny at the end of the movie when the reporter's asking them. So what was the worst thing? She's like, octopus. And you're like, wait.
You're like, octopus?
Yeah, and I remember.
Yeah, so they didn't edit that. So it's okay. I mean, you know what? After watching the octopus scene later on in life, you realize, you know what? Good job of deleting that scene because it was not a good scene.
It wasn't.
It was terrible.
I always thought that the octopus scene was when the Fratellis kicked them all off the ship.
Oh, see, but they were walking nonchalant. Like, this is another scene with Mouth and Steph.
Yeah.
And the octopus kept wrapping its tentacles around Steph's leg, and she was like, Mouth, quit it.
Oh,
see, this is where I was also getting
you're probably right. Yeah,
some of the callback to their relationship, because he's like, what? I'm not doing anything. And then she's like, Mouth, stop touching me there. Like, and then it was the octopus doing all of it, right? And then he's like, it's not me, it's an octopus. And then they start freaking out. But I think this was before they got on the ship, though.
Yeah, no, I think now that you're saying,
I don't think
that
they had
makes
jumped
sense.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. No,
Because they were all kind of nonchalant in the water.
Yeah, that's right. That would make sense. Like,
Yeah.
you think, like, thematically, that the octopus became before it went on the pirate ship.
But, like, again, I'm glad that they got rid of it. It's not a good scene.
Because if it was at the end, because right at the end there, Brand and Andy...
They were rushing to get out.
Yeah,
because
they were rushing to get out.
The frickin' cave was coming in.
But they took time to have a makeup session.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though that their lives... Anyways.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the ship.
So they're on the ship.
They're on the ship. So now, like... And the thing is, like, it's pretty funny. They're looking at the ship, and they start looking all over. Of course, Data, he falls through... the floor there.
Yeah, well, it's an old ship. So
it's an old ship. And I just like Brown's like, well, use the stairs. He's like, use the stairs. And I'm just like they fell.
Now, do you notice, actually, and I don't want to say this, Data talks to himself in the third person.
Kind of does.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like, why you make Data do this? Like all the time. And it's like, wow, he really does think for himself in the third person.
He's kind of like The Rock.
Yeah.
You smell what Data's cooking.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, he kind of
I thought that was interesting that he always does that.
You can imagine, like, probably a guy like him, before you met the Goonies and stuff, he's probably a guy that, like, probably didn't hang around anybody.
Yeah, like, socially awkward.
So he probably would, like, so the person was himself. You can see that, yeah, that kind of makes sense. He would talk to himself. And then someone like him, he's probably so in his mind, so it makes sense that Data would do that.
Spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah, spend a lot of time, but he'd be talking to himself because his mind is just going, it's tinkering. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. That's part of, like, kind of his behavior.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's great. I just like he's like just ticked off, and they're like, "Why did you see the stairs? Use the stairs. Use the entrance." He's just mad, eh?
Yeah.
And then so they're looking there, and I just like how, like, Mikey takes the sword, and then now Andy and them are like kind of chastising him, like, leave that alone. It's like, well, he's dead.
Yeah.
But like the thing is like you kind of think logically. Them discovering this ship, and this ship, like 1632, how old it is, in itself is priceless, you'd think. And I love the kids, they don't know where the treasure is, they haven't found the treasure, so they start going, like, yelling at Mikey, where's the treasure?
1862, I believe. Is it 1632?
1632.
Oh.
Not 1862.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 1632.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything on the ship to me is like a treasure in its own way, because so the ship in itself probably could have them stay there, discovered. I don't know, but the treasure. I just like the fact that they start yelling at Mikey, "Where's the treasure?" And like staff, and they start going at him, but then they find it.
They do find it,
and of course, Mikey, has to have his moment of One-Eye Willie.
Yes. Well, he does.
It's a cool scene.
Because he'd been building up One-Eyed Willie the whole time.
He's been talking to him through the whole movie, like communicating.
In a way. In a way, he has been communicating with Willie, because he'd always be like, okay, Willie, we're coming. Or where are you, Willie? Like, what would Willie do? Things like that. So you could tell he really had Willie inside of him.
What are you doing, Willie?
Well, I don't...
it's great, and it's great. Like, I mean, it kind of tells you a lot
because it keeps Willie's character alive, and when you actually do see him sitting there in his chair, you're like, oh my god, like, you finally get to see One-Eyed Willie. And he's a great character, even though he does nothing. He's still a good character. And
I love the detail when he goes and finds Willie, and he removes the patch.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a great, like, a bit that, like, a kid like him would do. Like, I just think that's just a great detail.
Yep.
Oh, that's why they call you One-Eye Willie. Yeah.
Yep.
He was born with one eye.
That's right.
So it's great.
It wasn't because it got knifed out or anything.
Yeah, and just the set decoration of that pirate ship is just great. I love how that one pirate that's by the wheel has all those daggers in his eyes.
Yes,
I love that effect. And
that was cool.
So they're grabbing the jewels and stuff, and then they come up with this master plan that they can set, like, decoy with the treasure, but the Fratelli's already there.
Yeah. Now, notice when they were going crazy over the gold and stuff, and the girls and everyone was trying to grab the gold off of the Willie's pile, on the scale.
The scale.
That was another booty trap.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's Willie's. Leave that alone.
I love that scene because
that's good foreshadowing there too.
Good foreshadowing, but also it says something about Mikey.
Yeah.
Like his respect for this one-eye Willie.
Yes, respect.
And also, like, you know what, we'll take, but we're not going to take everything.
That's right, and we're not going to take his.
Know? And it shows you the difference between the Fratellis and the Goonies. The Goonies, they have honor, and where the Fratellis don't.
Yes.
And it's right there. You see that.
Yep. So separates the good from the bad.
Separates the good from the bad. Look at this. The moral lessons, the Goonies. That's all you got to do. Parents?
Yeah.
Just have your kids watch the Goonies, and your parenting is done right there.
That's right. They won't take everything; they'll just take some things.
Yeah. So they might develop an addiction to Pepsi,
maybe, and Domino's,
Domino's and stuff, and so keep them at bay. But so the Fratellis are there, and they're taking them up on the deck, and it's time to walk the plank.
Walk the plank.
Yeah, and this is a great scene because Earl Flynn, I mean Sloth, and not Chunk, Captain Chunk.
Captain Chunk.
Yeah,
come to save the day.
Saves the day. Hey, you guys! So great stuff, eh? So, and I like, of course, they made Andy, of course, walk the plank.
Yeah.
An old, you know what? You should really think about it. Brad doesn't really do a hell of a lot in this movie. Like, he's not, like, if you think about the other crew really do more.
Yeah.
Brad kind of does it.
Yeah, he's kind of there as like the dad.
Yeah, kind of the dad.
He fills the dad role. He's like, hey, you guys, no, like, calm down, you know.
He doesn't really have many heroic moments.
No. But he's not the hero.
No, he's not. But you figure he would be because, he's
That's
the big...
right,
yeah,
he would
but he's not. He's not the hero, and so I kind of... You like that. So he jumps in and, they're in the water, so now it's time to reconsume that. And, and then Sloth reunites with his brothers, and they're playing the skip rope, and they're going to try to outwit him, and but Sloth's not having it, and he kind of does the old Abbott and Costello and Three Stooges act on those guys.
Sloth is huge and strong.
Yeah, he is. I guess the guy that plays him...
Played by a football player.
Ex-football player, like NFL, right?
Passed away a few years after the making of the film. Yeah. I can't remember how he died, but... Yeah. So, rest in peace, Sloth.
Yeah. So, and then he even takes care of the brothers, ties them up, and then it's time for Mama Fratelli's been bad.
Yep. Bad mama.
And I just like what she
Throw Mama from the train, maybe?
Throw Mama from the train, but this time throw Mama from the deck.
That's right.
From the plank.
Yeah.
So, and I just like how she tries to, Mama, and then he's like, Mama.
She starts singing the Rockabye Baby song, and that sets him off.
And I love how she is rolling her eyes, though, because she still can't. You can just tell she hates being a mom.
She hates being a mom. Yeah. She's got her head resting on his chest.
And she's
like, Rockabye Baby. And then she looks at him. And then, I'm too top. When the bow breaks. And she's like saying it like nonchalant.
And then she's rolling her eyes, making faces.
And then when the bow breaks, the cradle will fall. And he goes, cradle will fall. And he freaks out. He's like in his face. And he's like, I only dropped you a couple of times.
Once, twice. So he picks her up and throws her in the water.
Bye-bye, Mama.
Yeah, so now, of course, they have all the booty to themselves, but they did not heed One-Eye Willie's requests.
Yeah.
That Mikey did.
Right.
So they take the loot from the scale.
And what happens?
And, well, the last booby trap.
That is.
Like, now, the logic and the physics of this.
Yeah.
You gotta have...
Come on. The movie's been setting it up all movie long, right?
Like, I mean, man, One-Eye Willie, those guys they're attention to detail.
I still think it's great.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
But anyways, so the ship
the cave is falling in.
And, well, the candles does come in effect there. They finally realize that they've been carrying sticks of dynamite. But of course, that doesn't really work for them.
Well, it's funny because isn't it Data that pulls them out and goes, hey guys, I got these candles. And they're like, what is candles going to do? Wait a minute, this is dynamite.
That's where Bran comes in.
Right.
Brand's the one just...
Okay, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, this is dynamite.
Does do something.
So there you go. Bran, after he did some he got rejuvenated with him and Andy. So,
Yeah.
and then at that point there, Andy and Brand, they finally kiss. And she's like, what happened to your braces? And he's like, Mikey. And man, she's not even bothered by it. Like, she's like,
Oh, well.
yeah, well.
That's another boy.
Oh, man. He's kind of like, what the? But she doesn't even miss a beat. She just grabs him and right back to her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Good for you, Andy.
Yes. Play in the field.
Oh, man. That's why I said, she's the love interest for the Walsh boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sweet girl though. I like Andy.
Yep.
So I kind of like I like all the characters. So okay, now the dynamite blows up, but doesn't really. But Sloth comes in with his insane inhuman power and holds the boulder for them to get out.
Yeah, the last boulder before it falls and closes it off. Yeah.
But Sloth, he's not cold blooded. He still helps Mama.
Yep.
And of course, did you know that those two beach patrol guys? The one is Richard Donner, the director.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it goes. There's those gooners. I don't know if he says the gooners or I don't know goobers. It sounds like he said goobers, but
yeah, I know he did say something. I forget what he said.
Yeah, he goes, oh, there they are. Those goobers. He goes, they weren't here a minute ago. Well, they are now. It's a pretty good play. I don't know who the other guy was, but the one guy is Richard Donner, the director of the film.
Awesome.
So the maestro of Superman.
Yes.
So the Goonies get out and then everybody just comes. Like it just seems like all the parents,
the news
the police,
shows up real fast.
Like how do they know they were
the
there?
guys on the ATV got radios, I'm sure. I think he had a radio maybe, so he could have radio back at the dispatch. The next thing you know, everyone's showing up.
Because
fast forward probably a half an hour maybe, and they all show up.
Because doesn't Chunk call earlier in the film and the cop because Chunk's his history of fabricating and stuff, and the cop's just like.
And then someone cut the cord while he was calling.
Cut the cord.
So maybe that's...
wasn't it the Fratellis?
Yes, the Fratellis had cut the cord. Yeah. So maybe that cop was like, maybe there's a hint of truth of what Chunk said that time.
Yeah. But and you notice there was a little bit of a gremlin gag in there when he goes, but then you told us about these crazy creatures that multiply when you get wet. So it's kind of a shout out to the gremlins.
The gremlins. Does that mean Chunk has seen gremlins?
Yeah, well, it could have been Melf, because Melf, Corey Feldman is in Gremlins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Maybe that's why Melf is so mouthy.
Maybe. So anyways.
Gremlins was in a little town, too.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah.
So getting to the beach scene, when the news crew comes, the family shows up for all the kids. Yeah. So you got, the moments with the kids and their parents. My favorite moment was Data and his mom and dad. Yeah. And his dad's like, he whips out his like retractable camera that comes out. Yeah. And he tries to take a picture, and then the film pops out and ruins all the film, right?
Yeah, chip off the old book.
But then, so that failed, but he then takes Data and gives him a hug and says, "You're my greatest invention." Yeah. I almost teared up when I saw that.
Great scene. It's a little hokey pokey, I thought that was great with Data and his dad and those lines. Yeah. I thought with Mikey and his dad when he goes, he was talking about anywhere we go, so you guys just say it was a little too much typical Steve Spielberg, but it was still good. But I like how Chunk's parents come back. And they all look like they could be his real family.
And what they bring with them?
Domino's pizza. Just a straight gluttony.
My boy's been lost for an hour. We gotta bring him pizza.
Oh, you're the best. So good, great stuff. So Chunk. So Chunk is still probably fighting diabetes.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
And then you don't see Steph or Melf's parents in that scene.
No.
You don't...
but because Steph and Melf have a moment, don't they?
They do have a moment, but before I get there, Andy reunites with her parents, and the first thing she asks, she wants to take piano lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it saved their lives.
It saved her life, so now she wants to hone that math. But the thing is, at this point, she played the piano death trap. That's like comparing, Horse Me or the Baby shit now to her.
Yes. But it was a funny callback to the piano. So it
was great. It was great.
It was good.
But, so then Mouth and Steph have a moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she says something like, "You're not that bad," or something.
When your mouth is not screwing it up.
Yes, that's right.
Or he said something like,
"You're a nice guy."
Yeah, he said, "Yeah, you're."
I forget what it was.
Is it you're kind of cute, or you're all right when your mouth is not screwed up? And he says you're kind of pretty when your face is not screwed.
Right.
Which is like, is that a compliment?
Yeah, I don't know. See, again, there's a mystery relationship there.
Well, on IMDb in the trivia, they do state now that actually they were saying that Martha Plimpton and Corey Feldman didn't get along with each other.
On set?
On set.
Okay.
But this is on IMDb.
Yeah, see, who knows?
And the thing is that when you listen to the audio commentary, and if you look at like, obviously things might have been patched up if there was animosity, between the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there's definitely tension between them. But the movie to me was like kind of foreshadowing like some type of like romance, because
because you know how when some people like a boy and a girl could be like short with each other, like quit bugging me, or things like that, but then what they really mean is like I like you kind of deal, how it was when you were kids.
Well, I was trying to do some research, and I thought, well, maybe Corey Feldman and her actually dated in real life, but I don't think so, because she actually dated River Phoenix.
Really? Oh, that's right. You mentioned that before.
Because her parents are both actors. So, because if you look at a lot of these, like, it is Hollywood. Like, a lot of these kid actors they're all connected and stuff. So she's quite connected and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's actually been good. She was in Parenthood. She's in other shows. She was in Beautiful Girls. So I've always enjoyed her too and stuff. Like, because she's not traditionally like pretty, like a Hollywood actress and stuff. But she's like the one of the character, person who's like the friend of the pretty girl or something.
Yeah.
But like in her own right, like she's always played good, interesting characters. But, so that was an interesting scene.
Yeah, I liked it.
And then of course Chunk is going to adopt Sloth. Just like that, you're going to come
just
live
like
with us.
that. You're going to bring this freak of nature into your home.
Yeah. And then One Eye Willie sets sail one last time.
Yes.
Good stuff. Like really good stuff.
Well, now let's get to the actual final scene when the Welsh family, when they were about to sign away.
Rosalita
finds the gems.
Troy is there.
Daddy!
Yeah, I almost forgot about that,
Yeah, so Rosalita is trying to say in Spanish, like, don't sign the papers.
Yeah.
Right? And as he's like, it's weird, he's holding the pen on the guy, and he's got the paper on the guy's back.
We have signs it.
Yeah, he kind of like, he's jiggling the pen. He's like, how do I sign my name again? And then he puts the pen to the paper, and then he takes the pen off again. And I'm like, dude, don't you know how to sign your name? You shouldn't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
You should be just done, right? But no, he's like thinking about how to sign his name. And then that's when Rosalita is like, in Spanish, no sign. And then finally Mouth comes through too with the translation saying no sign, don't sign. And then she opens the bag with gems in it, and it was enough to save their house.
Yeah.
But, like, so was it enough to save the town? Like, the little area?
Like you said, we kind of have to just go with it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, those are gems and stuff, and what ownership do you really have with them? Anyways, because if it's stolen treasure...
I mean, that would go to, like, the preserve, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? So whatever, let's not get...
We just kind of have to roll with it.
Yeah, you just gotta roll with it. It saves the town, saves the day, everyone's free and clear.
He didn't sign... Yeah, because you don't really understand why the town, like, all those people are going under. Like, is the whole town, the work... Like,
well, when they talk golf course, it's like, okay, well, then all those houses gotta go.
Yeah. Well, it's like... But, like... You start wondering how these houses, like, it's not like these people are renting. Like, is everybody just renting? Like I didn't understand. Like I don't know. Maybe I don't understand. But like these are like homeowners. How can they just buy them out like that?
I think as adults we're thinking of this, but as kids we weren't. You know what I mean? We just
but the people that wrote this.
I know, but they wrote this for kids.
I know.
You know what I mean? They wrote this for kids, not for 40-year-old kids.
And believe me, this movie holds up really good. I really don't have, like, this is nitpicking and stuff, but I always like, well, how are they, the whole town, basically, or is it just the Goonies crew? Like, they're putting up this mall, like,
Yeah,
obviously the father that owns the museum is going under. It's closing. I'm assuming it's
does he own the museum, or is he just a curator? That doesn't mean he owns the museum.
No, he's a curator, but like...
So he works there.
He works there, so like... Yeah, it's a little murky on like this town, like, because they're all saying this is our last time. Is it just the Welsh boys that are leaving, or is it everybody's going? But they make it sound like it's like all of them.
Yeah, because Data's the neighbor, right? I mean, so then
I don't know if that's a plot hole. Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but yeah, this is one of the things you're like
something to think about. But really, let's accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's a great ending. Yeah. It's a happy ending.
Yeah.
They save the day. They don't have to move.
No,
so it's great.
No, and another thing is that's basically the movie, and I really hope, and I've liked so far that a sequel never came to fruition, because this is one of those movies, it doesn't need a sequel.
No, and please, Hollywood, don't touch this one.
Because what's going to happen if they do the remake, they're going to do the gender reversal, and if they're going to use like a character like, because you can't really do the shaming thing, like body shaming, like because it's body positivity.
That's right.
You would never do that with a female. Like I hate to say it, like I wouldn't even want to see it myself.
No,
like a young girl, like kind of like Chunk.
It only usually works with boys. It only worked with boys back then too, though. Yeah.
So like, you recast everybody, but have like the Chunk character still like a male, so you can kind of get that kind of chubby. Because like even if you watch like modern stuff with characters that are a little bit, they don't really make fun of them. Like they don't act really super gluttonous.
No.
Like, like you look at Jonah Hill in some of those movies. Yeah, he's a bigger guy, kind of.
But you don't see him eating all the time.
You don't see him eating and stuff. Where like Chunk is like you imagine like the directions like, okay, you gotta eat like a pig here and act like a like. There's no way a movie like that, a character like that would get.
No, and that's why these stories need to stay where they are, and please do not touch these stories because these stories are timeless.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen Goonies. Yeah. It's been a lot. I think I watch it at least once or twice a year for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to watch this once or twice a year for the rest of my life as long as I can.
Well, and
this is a movie that's really special, and I don't want Hollywood to... I mean, obviously, I don't have to go see a new one if they make it, and I probably won't. They can make a Goonies too if they want, but I'll never go see it.
This is a movie when you and I talked about doing a podcast. This was like right in the forefront, because this is kind of like the epitome of like our childhood and stuff, and many other people's childhood, and even children that discover this movie later in life. To me, this is like a far-reaching universal show, because like it still holds up. Like to me, there's some shows as a kid, I know if I watch today, where I have watched, it just doesn't hold up. This movie, I can watch this anytime. Like unlike you, I usually try to watch it once a year.
Yeah,
because I like it so much. It's like you just feel good when you watch it.
You do, and I even I did a rewatch so that I would. Have all this information on me fresh in mind, and I watched it with the missus, and she enjoyed it too, because she even told me, she's like, I don't think I ever really saw the whole thing, and I'm like, what? And then so then we watched it together, and she liked it. So.
And this is a very interesting show, because it has a weird, like, it's a cult classic, but it was a very successful film, because a lot of cult classic are films that weren't necessarily financially successful,
but they grow legs.
They grow legs,
and they grow and grow.
And a certain, where this one is like a cult successful, and right now you're seeing, because we're living in an era, there's lots of nostalgia, especially for the 80s and 90s. You can go on YouTube, and you and I are not big on the guy that hosts those kind of reunion shows, but it's kind of nice to see the whole cast looking back.
It is nice to see them.
And talking and seeing them. Like, this is a film, it seems like, not only is the film regarded highly by like the people that watch it and the people that discover it, but the actors and the people that were involved in this film seem to be really reverent towards it. And I was watching an interview with Data actor. He's kind of... He quit acting a long time ago, but he's kind of back into acting because there's been, with movie like Crazy Rich Asians and stuff, there's, for him, it's great to see like films like that and kind of come into the, sometimes maybe that's not a show that I will watch maybe one day.
Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for romances like that, and I watch them with the missus all the time, and Crazy Rich Asians for me was actually...
I heard it's a fun movie.
It was fun. Yeah. It was entertaining.
It's a fun movie and stuff, so it's good to see him kind of come back, and like he kind of, his interview was kind of talking that films like that kind of, it's good because like you can imagine like for certain actors and stuff, regardless of their background and their ethnicity and stuff like that, a lot of roles might not be, at a certain age. It's like, like that's why maybe older actors and some of them fall the wayside because, most people kind of focus on young, action, beautiful, where I always enjoy some of those movies where some of these actors kind of come out of nowhere. Like, I mean, I think Quentin Tarantino should get some of these Goonie actors in a movie. You imagine Quentin Tarantino doing a Goonies?
Oh, jeez. It'd be real messed up, that's for sure.
Yeah, so great movie. I'm glad there's been no... but before we're done talking, we gotta talk about the tie-in song with Cyndi Lauper and that 12-minute video that I remember seeing it as a kid. It's on, if anyone has like the DVD or the Blu-ray, you can watch this masterpiece music video in its entirety. I highly recommend looking it up on YouTube because it's a gem of a music video. And it was at the height of the MTV music video. And you watched it recently, right?
I have not.
Oh, you...
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
What happened? I sent it to you.
I got busy. I'm sorry. I apologize. But take the lead on this one.
So you'll notice that this is going to be a running theme that Turk and we have a lot of similarities, but a lot of times we don't. So one of us will like get excited and like, you should watch this, and like, I will, and we never do. So sometimes you're going to notice that we're not. But anyways, the music video is like, I love this video because it's a Cyndi Lauper. And back then she had, that big hit, Girls Want to Have Fun. And Cyndi Lauper, a lot of you already know this, so this is probably nothing new to you, but if anyone hasn't seen this or knows much about this, Cyndi Lauper was kind of a pioneer in the 80s because, not only because of, like, a female kind of pop act, but she also kind of joined forces with wrestling, and they call it the rock and wrestling connection.
Yes.
And that was like, I remember as a kid, and you and I, we've been talking about this, like that was such a big thing because it brought like wrestling on national, and then it brought music and stuff. And
yeah, it tied it all in.
And because you'd see like certain wrestlers appear in Cyndi Lauper music videos, and then Cyndi Lauper herself, didn't she come a valet?
She was a valet,
or a manager.
For a little bit,
And she got like involved with a feud with Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
and there was like a big stuff there, and
she was great for the WWE.
Yeah,
she was perfect.
It was great stuff. Like if any of you,
or WWF back then.
Yeah, it's always WWF.
Yeah,
and if any of you have like interest in stuff, Turk and I highly recommend finding these on YouTube wherever you can. It's good. But
they're out there.
This video is like a gem of video. So the video's like Goonies are good enough, or that's the theme. It's
good
played
enough.
in the movie. Great song. I love this video because like it's so misleading. I don't know, because a lot of music videos back then, a lot of times there'd be one video and then it would kind of tie into the next one, so it would play off the last one. Where this one, when you start watching it, it's like, it's a wrestling, it's like, it's got all these wrestlers and she's singing, it's got like Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, like this Russian, all these people, and then the song plays and you're like, she starts singing Goonies, and you're like, well, where's the Goonies? This is a Goonie theme song. Well, then she goes inside, and it gives a map, and then a little bit of it sprinkles in the Goonies, and the actual actors appear. And then, like, a lot of music videos back then, and in the 90s, like, okay, Guns N' Roses for Terminator 2, You Could Be Mine. The video was not only was a video of Guns N' Roses, it showcased Arnold Schwarzenegger in the video, but also it showed scenes from the movie and it tied it all in. Well, this kind of did it, but it did it like really, like the editing was really goofy, and it's like a 12 minutes. So she has this like encounter with wrestlers, But then she gets away from the wrestlers, and then she has this encounter with the Goonies. But then she gets away from the Goonies and has an encounter with this wrestling. It's a gem. You got to watch the video. It's hard to explain. It is nuts. It makes no sense, really, but it's beautiful.
It's the 80s. Nothing makes sense.
It's the 80s, man. And so
it's awesome.
Yeah, if you got like a nostalgia or you like this stuff, Turk and I, we love talking about this. So yeah,
it's all great stuff.
All right, so we're gonna we're gonna rate Goonies. So how many Baby Ruths would you give Goonies?
Okay, so we're gonna go to 10. Are we gonna go to 10? 10?
Yeah, let's do it.
10. I'm gonna give it an 8. 8 Baby Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8 for me.
8 for you, and I'm gonna give it 8 as well. So we're gonna probably have to go to renal dialysis after this. So, but yeah, like this is great and stuff, and it's like obviously it's not like the best movie, best written, and all this, but it's just it's the epitome of like 80s and nostalgia.
This is the one that meant a lot to us as kids and as adults as well, and kind of the birthing podcast episode, really, other than our intro, but. This is a great first real podcast. Yeah, no, this is kind of like our first major one to talk about. So we're hoping to do more of these. So we will.
On that note, from the Turk and Raz podcast, please subscribe or check out our podcast. If you're a person in the Saskatchewan area and you're looking for like-minded individuals, especially like this type of pop culture, give us a listen, and we definitely down the road want to hear some feedback. Yes, and we'll get some socials up soon so that you can start giving us feedback. Yeah. All right. On that note, we out of here. All right. Thanks.